in that conference in the final 2 weeks. For the SWAC, it's almost all but Harrison's at this point. Wildcats just need a win against Mount Healthy to win the conference outright. Wildcats at this point have at least claimed a share of the conference. As for who's trailing them, the Ross Rams, Little Miami Panthers both at 3-2. Talawanda and Mount Healthy are both at 2-2. All of those teams have a shot of possibly getting a share of the title depending on what happens to Harrison in their final 2 weeks. Edgewood is at 1-3 and Northwest is at 0-4, both out of the playoff hunt. As for the Greater Miami Conference, it's looking like that final Week 10 showdown between Fairfield and Colerain might be the ultimate decider. Both teams are leading the GMC at 6-0. Lakota West has an outside chance at 5-1, but they need losses from Fairfield and Colerain to even get themselves in a position to share the title. Other teams that are in the GMC that are out of it by this point, Princeton and Lakota East and Mason all at 3-3. Hamilton and Sycamore at 2-4. And Middletown and Oak Hills have yet to post a GMC win. A reminder for your coverage here on Chatterbox Live, we have games coming from Hamilton as the Big Blue hosts the Sycamore Aves, and 2 coming out of Dayton as Chaminade Julienne hosts the Bishop Fenwick Falcons, and also the Baden Rams have now taken on the Carroll Patriots. Other games around the region tonight for your coverage area, McNicholas and Alter are squaring off and who's going to get their first GCL co-ed win on the year. Harrison Wildcats and Mount Healthy are going to be tangling for the potential of if the Wildcats are going to win it outright or not in the SWAC. Northwest is at Talawanda. Edgewood looking to try and get revenge from last year's playoff loss to Little Miami. That one's out in Morrow. And the Ross Rams are also in Dayton, but they're taking on a non-conference foe in the Thurgood Marshall Cougars. GMC contests. You have Mason Comets hosting the Middletown Middies. Also on slate, Lakota West travels to Princeton for a big contest between 2 teams fighting for playoff seeding. Fairfield has a home contest against the winless Oak Hills Highlanders in the GMC. And then a big one coming out of Colerain Township. The Cardinals are undefeated in the conference, but they do have a tricky defensive task against the Lakota East Thunderhawks. Thunderhawks have been in so many close games all season long, but just have not been quite able to overcome the hump. But their defense has been stellar in each one of those contests. We'll take another break, but when we come back, we'll look at the playoff picture and see what other games around the region are going to affect the teams in the GMC, the SWAC, and the GCL Co-Ed. This is Chatterbox First Look. Welcome back to Chatterbox First Look. Time now to take a look at the playoff implications. First from Division 1, Region 4. Currently, your 8-seeded teams would be Fairfield, Elder, St. Xavier, Colerain, Lakota West, Princeton, Sycamore, and Hamilton. But there are teams all trying to move in there. Fairfield, Elder, St. Xavier, and Colerain have all clinched a playoff spot, and Lakota West will control their own destiny. As for the others, they need to make sure they keep winning or hope some other things happen outside of their control. Elder tonight has a key matchup against a school from Canada. That's Football North via Clarkson SS. That's all the way from Ontario. As for St. Xavier, it's a big one against St. Ignatius out of Cleveland area. So we'll see how things shake out for those 2 teams. As for who's in 9th place, that's Walnut Hills. They're taking on a 5-3 Anderson Redskins team tonight. Should Walnut Hills win, that could be dangerous for both Hamilton, Sycamore, and even Princeton in what Walnut Hills could do. 10 and 11 seeded spots, Mason Comets and Lakota East. Mason needs to win out. Lakota East needs to win out. Boy, oh boy, if Lakota East finds a way to beat Colerain, that's going to make a huge shakeup in playoff seeding. As for the others, West Claremont has probably a little too much work to do along with Lebanon, Milford. Archbishop Moeller is at a 1-7 mark. Middletown and Oak Hills probably out of it as well, although technically the only one in that region mathematically eliminated is Western Hills. Taking a look now at Division 2, Region 8, Turpin has been undefeated all season. They claim the 1 spot, control their own destiny. LaSalle at 7-1. They're going to be controlling their own destiny as well. And then there's the Harrison Wildcats at 7-1 at 3rd place, controlling their own destiny. As for Harrison, in order to try and jump LaSalle, they got to have LaSalle lose to Whitten Woods and to Elder, and they need to win out as well. 4th seed is actually Canal Winchester out of the Columbus region. Same with Walnut Ridge in 5th, 6th as well. Columbus St. Francis de Sales. And then in 7th spot, you have Xenia, and the 8th seed is Anderson. Just outside of that, in the 9th spot, is Talawanda, needing to probably win out to get in there Winton Woods at 10th, Little Miami 11th, and Kings is at the 12-seeded spot. Taking a look now at your Division 3, Region 12. Right now, Chaminade Julienne is in the first seed, and they've clinched a playoff spot with a 7-1 record. Franklin, Wapakoneta, and Trotwood Madison all control their own destiny in the top 4 seeds. St. Mary's Memorial is in 5th. And then there's your pair of Rams. The Baden Rams are in 6th, and the Ross Rams are in 7th. And Cincinnati Hughes is going to be in that 8th spot. So Baden and Ross both need to try and keep getting wins as they go through in the season. Division 4. It's going to be Wyoming, Indian Hill, Clinton Massey, Waynesville, Kenton, St. Bernard, Roger Bacon, Milton Union, and Bethel Tate all up there. For McNicholas, although they're 0-4 in the conference, their 3-5 mark only puts them at 2 spots out of the playoffs. They're still in the hunt if they can get some wins and have some things happen to other teams ahead of them. Taking a look at Region 20, this is now Division 5. Taft is in the lead in this one, followed by Springfield Shawnee, West Jefferson, West Liberty Salem, Summit Country Day, Cincinnati Christian Hills Academy, and Madeira, and then Greenon have the 8 spots. As for Madison, the Mohawks are just 1 spot out at 5-3 mark. They'll need to get some wins and have some things happen ahead of them. There aren't really any area teams that are in playoff contention from Division 6, Region 24, so we'll skip that and go to Division 7, Region 28. The New Miami Vikings at 7-0 are in control of their own destiny and have the 1 seed at the moment, but Fort Loramie and Marion Local both behind and have some firepower behind them, so New Miami will need to keep trying to win out. To round out that region, Cincinnati College Prep is in the 4th spot, New Bremen Cardinals in the 5, Waynesville Goshen, Lima Perry, and Hardin Northern round out your top 8 there as well. When we come back, it is going to be time to bring you coverage of your game here on Chatterbox Live. Thank you for listening in to myself, Justin Thomas, here on Chatterbox First Look. We hope you enjoy the game, and thank you for listening to Chatterbox Sports.
Is the tailback behind the quarterback, Quincy Sims-Marshall. He gives up the middle. Here's Johnson down the side. 1 man to beat to the 40, to the 30, to the 20, 10, 5, touchdown. 1 play does it all. You are looking live as we are on tap for week number 9 of the high school football season. It's 2 teams jockeying for position in the Region 4 playoff race. The winner solidifies a postseason berth. The other might be sitting at home when November begins. It's the Big Blue and the Aviators. We are here in Hamilton, and we'll get you started with the game of the week next on Chatterbox Live. And good evening from Virgil M. Schwarm Stadium. We're at senior night. I'm Jeff Kim. Trace Fowler to join me in just a moment. Tonight we'll see if the beat rolls on for Hamilton. 41-24 winners in Middletown a week ago. The Big Blue got a big night from Caleb Johnson. 229 yards, rushing with 4 touchdowns, breaking a 2-game losing streak and improving to 4-4. Sycamore wasn't so fortunate. Despite 11 catches for 102 yards from Jordan McConnell, the Aviators lost to Fairfield 31-3, dropping its record to 4-4. Both teams are tied for 7th in the GMC with a conference record of 2-4. So as we bring in Trace, let's start with the visiting Aviators. Since becoming head coach, Scott DiTio has taken the Aviators to the playoffs 6 times. If he's going back for a 7th in 14 years, he's going to need the league's top quarterback and its best wide receiver to step up tonight.
Without question, and we were fortunate enough to see them against Lakota West a few weeks back, and I think the biggest thing that stood out to me with Sycamore was their resiliency. I think we got to see them take one in the mouth there in the first half against West, down 28-7, easily could have, rolled over, if you will. And at the end of the day, they didn't. They bounced back, and they almost won that game against West. It'll be interesting if Fair and McConnell can get it going tonight and pick up a big win against the Big Blue.
On the other side, Hamilton's first-year skipper, Nate Mahan, is no stranger to reclamation projects, taking both Northwest and Little Miami to the playoffs in separate 3-year stints. In preparing for tonight's game, Mahan is preaching efficiency on offense, especially in the run game, and he has the two-headed monster to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Blue are, they're no secret. They're going to try to control the game on the ground, and then vice versa, try to keep Sycamore's offense on the sideline. I think that Coach Mahan likes to play defense by keeping the offense out on the field, and there's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, in order to be able to do that, you have to control the line of scrimmage, and that's one thing that the Big Blue have struggled to do in a few games this year. And you look at a Sycamore team that's, a quality opponent, and I think that's something early on we're going to be able to see if the Big Blue have their way when it comes to the line of scrimmage.
The last time these two teams met, it was a year ago on October 12th at Sycamore. The Aviators doubled up on the Big Blue 28-14. Andrew Fair threw for 2 scores in the first half and scored the insurance touchdown in the fourth. Keyshawn Stevens ran for 147 yards and a score for the Big Blue in that one. So we're just about set to go here, mere moments away. The visiting Aviators are clad in the white jerseys with the green numerals, the yellow pants, the yellow and helmets. Whereas the Big Blue, well, as you would expect, the blue uniforms with the white trim, the white numerals, the white helmets, and the black shoes. The head coaches are Scott DiTio for Sycamore in his 14th year, 95-53. Nate Mahan is in his first year with Hamilton, in his 7th year overall as a head coach, 44-29. So it will be Hamilton to receive the ball to start off this ball game. Deep man over at his own 3-yard line. Keyshawn Stevens waiting. Here's the kick, and it's end over end taken by one of the up men at the 15-20. Cuts back to the middle to the 25, 30, 35, and into a scrum at the 39-yard line. And it's a really nice start here for the Hamilton Big Blue.
Yeah, just as what they drew up. Start it right at your own 40-yard line. And at this point, they're going to come out, and we'll see. Coach Mahan's done a few things this year that have surprised me, and one of those is sometimes they come out and they throw the ball down the field, and they got a playmaker in Darian Bowling.
And he is their home run target. So as we come out, of course, it's going to actually be a different look here for Hamilton. They initially start out what looks like a full house. A pair of wing backs, a quarterback, and a tailback behind the quarterback, Quincy Sims Marshall. Deep drop with time. Home run down the near side for Bowling. It's off his hands at the 25-yard line. And you called it.
I did call it. That's one thing that they have an advantage on. If you want my opinion, they have an advantage. Whoever Darian Bowling's matched up with, 9 times out of 10, he is going to be the guy that is going to have the upper hand. And that was a throw in which might have been just a smidge too close to the defender. Left it out there for Darian, and it might have been one they want to have back.
Sims Marshall, 73 for 124 on the season for 1,062 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's got a rating of 146.7. Second down and 10 at the 40-yard line. Again, that full house look. And give to the tailback, up the gut, up to the 45, to the 46, to the 47-yard line. Caleb Johnson picking up where he left off a week ago with his big 229-yard game, the Al Bundy game, as I like to call it, with the 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, without question. I'd say this, as the Big Blue usually do, they hurry up to the line and then they get the call in from the sideline. But if they're going to have that much success on the ground tonight, it's going to be a long, long deal for the Aviators.
Third down, we're going to call it 4 with 11:17 on the clock. Back to pass Sims Marshall looking for Bowling once more. He's got it out at the 30-yard line. Falls forward for the first down, and a nice big gain there of 24.
You're going to have to put a safety on that side of the field at some point, because I can promise you, if they're just going to play one-on-one coverage with that matchup tonight, Darian Bowling's going to have a night he will remember.
Leading receiver on this team, one of the top 5 in the GMC this year. First and 10, they're going to spot the ball fishy on the 27-yard line. It's on the near hash mark. Wideouts to each side, and again, a full house. The give to the tailback, Johnson off right tackle, and into the secondary to the 20. He's gone! 6-0 Hamilton.
Just how you drew it up if you're the Big Blue outside that first play. They took some chances on the outside with Darian Bowling, which opened up perhaps the middle there, and he left off started off right where he left off, which is right in the end zone.
So on the heels of a 4-touchdown night, Caleb Johnson gets touchdown number 8 on the season, 6-0 Hamilton. So here's David Martinez on the kick, the point after. Good snap, the kick is away, it pinwheels through. With 10:42 left to play here in this opening quarter, Hamilton draws first blood, 7-0 on a 4-play drive that goes 60 yards, capped off by the 27-yard touchdown run by Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, but we had talked about this before, though. If you're a Big Blue fan, if you're the Big Blue on the team, you have to realize that Sycamore has had this happen to him before. This isn't the first time that an opening drive has been found the end zone, if you will. From the Aviators' perspective, they were down 28-7, like we mentioned before on the broadcast, to West. They ended up coming back in that game and almost winning. Outside that, though, their offense is kind of their, I guess, identity, if you will, on their side of the ball, in my opinion, and with Fair and McConnell. So we'll see if the Big Blue can contain them.
The drive, by the way, took a minute and 12 seconds off the clock. 7-0 here in Hamilton. Under a beautiful night, good conditions, 52 degrees at game time. No threat of rain, hopefully, for the rest of the night. So Martinez will kick. So Jordan McConnell, who is the leading receiver in the GMC, is the deep man at his own 5, flanked on either side. So I don't know about you, Trace, but if I'm Sycamore, I'm a little stunned by the quick action, the 4-play drive that resulted in this quick 6.
Well, one thing that I'd be concerned about, like I said before, is that you got to control the line of scrimmage if you're playing the Big Blue in order to be able to win, because they're going to run and they're going to continue to run. And the other side of the ball is if you're going to try to load the box, you don't have anyone that can match up on Darian Bowling, or at least so far it's shown. So certainly not what you're looking for if you're an Aviator fan.
It's a short kick out of the 20, out to the 25, the return man, and nowhere to go beyond that. So 1st and 10 coming up for the visiting Aviators, 4-4 their record. They were off to a quick start.
Beautiful weather out here tonight, though.
Yes.
I mean, I was a little concerned to be somewhat cold out here. Now, 4th quarter comes around and you hear us chattering. It might be a different story. But so far, it has treated us right. Got a nice view up here.
This may be the best view that we've enjoyed all year. The quarterback is Andrew Fair. He gives it a tailback up the middle, up across the 30, and down to the 33-yard line, and a good start for Sycamore.
The first down handoff was to number 10.
Demir Celestine, 5'7", 185 pounds on the carry to bring up 2nd and short. We're going to call it 2nd and 2. Spot the ball at the 33-yard line with 10:13 left to play here in this opening quarter. 7-0, just that fast in favor of Hamilton. Here's the wingback, McConnell across the 35. He's got the first down, his first touch of the night. So he will play from multiple spots as a split end, as a wingback, and sometimes as a single wing as the Wildcat.
Yeah, one of my favorite players in this league, to be honest with you. We got to see him, and I'm just impressed by the versatility that he shows, and he's just kind of a little quick, kind of a quick twitch player, I'd say. You put him in the slot, and he's going to have some success. We'll see where they put him out here.
Needed 2, got 4. 1st and 10 at the 37-yard line, and here's the reverse give. Here goes the playmaker, McConnell, across the 40 to the 42. So a pickup of 5 for McConnell on a second straight carry. Hawkins on the stop. 9:26 left to play in this opening quarter. 7-0 in favor of Hamilton. Hamilton was very impressive a week ago against Middletown, 41-24 winners. And we did mention Caleb Johnson, who's already scored tonight. He had 4 of them a week ago. Pistol look. As they motion Sally to the right, here's the give to the tailback. Up the right side, out to the 49-yard line. He's got the first down, out to midfield where he's met by the scrum of Hamilton. And is pushed forward right to midfield, a pickup of 8.
Yeah, if you're the Big Blue defense right now, it's one of those situations where you got to consider, you can bend a little bit, but you can't break once you get down here inside the 20s, as Coach Mahan said. Aves are having a good job controlling the line of scrimmage here from the offensive side.
Here's the give. It goes to the tailback, Celestine, across the 45 and down to the 43-yard line. A nice pickup on first down.
Number 10, Celestine.
Yeah, it's tough to load the box against the Aviators because they have the ability to throw the ball. That's one thing that we get to watch high school football on a week-in, week-out basis. And you'll be honest. Let's be honest. There's some teams that just cannot throw the football because they don't have the talent back there that can do that. Fortunately for the Aves, no pun intended, but they got a guy that can throw it through the air.
Andrew Fair now waiting, giving. McConnell, he takes it off the right side to the 35, down the sideline and out of bounds towards the 30-yard line. He has the first down.
Jordan McConnell making a defensive play for Hamilton, number 8, Braden Jackson.
Braden Jackson escorted him out, but not before they moved the chains with 8:12 left to play in this first quarter. And just as fast as Hamilton moved down the field, here comes Sycamore.
So what I expected. I didn't expect Hamilton to score as quickly because they're not really built for that per se. But Sycamore has the ability to have some big plays, and they've done so far.
Fair runs the pistol. McConnell in motion to give. Celestine off left tackle to the 30 and down to the 27-yard line. And they are moving the ball at will on the ground.
Yeah, at ease, I would say. I mean, these are 4 or 5 yard gains without really anybody even contesting them. And it's a situation where, we talk all the time about what it takes to win football games, and really it's pretty simple when you break it down. It's blocking, tackling, and being able to control the line of scrimmage. And that's what the Aviators are doing right here. Nothing too fancy, just run it right up the middle.
Wings on each side for Fair. Looks like it's McConnell in motion. The quarterback keeping off right tackle, and should have the first down. He's awfully close to it. So, by the way, here, Andrew Fair on the season is 108 for 192 passing for 1,284 yards. That's the best figure in the GMC this year. 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He's got a rating of 117.5. Not your typical dual threat, but you just saw him with the legs there, and he picked up the first down. Or he really close to it, 3rd and 1. Now here's Celestine across the 20. He's got the first down.
Yeah, you might as well sit first down because the way this drive was going, they're not stopping anybody within a yard. So we'll see. I mean, like I said before, this is the area of the field that games are won or lost inside the 20s. Can you score when you get in the red zone, and can you stop the other team when they enter the red zone? It's the first test of the night for both sides.
Jordan Jones got the tackle for Hamilton. 1st and 10. They spot the ball at the 19-yard line, and into the red zone for the first time is Sycamore with 6:46 left to play here in this opening quarter. 7-0 in favor of Hamilton. They show blitz. Fair with the ball. Deep drop with time. Throwing deep middle. Caught. Touchdown.
No,
he dropped it.
Wow.
All by himself was the receiver, and it looked like KJ Sally. Or Anapple, I guess. Gordy Anapple. So it's a drop, and oh my gosh, he's going to be sick to death on that one.
Almost a situation where, they say this sometimes, and I think it's true. You're almost too open. You have too much time to think about it. You see the ball coming, you know you're supposed to catch it, and it just doesn't happen.
Twins to the near side, Anapple and McConnell in the slot. And now we got a stoppage and a flag coming in from the near side. Tonight's referee is Mark Allen. They're going to call that on Jordan McConnell. And as you had said, Trace, he's your favorite player to watch, at least from the Sycamore squad, and one of the best that we've seen in the GMC this year.
Yeah, I'm just impressed with the versatility that he shows, and he makes plays. And anybody that makes plays, it's hard not to like. We got to see him almost will his team way back to victory against Lakota West, and you can see him, he slotted out to the outside here.
Trips to the near side. Fair. Looking left, throwing to the flat. McConnell finds a seam out to the 23-yard line, and a good stop by the Hamilton secondary.
Pass was complete to number 22, Jordan McConnell.
Kevon Burnett on the stop.
Yeah, I think it's a situation here where this is a must stop if you're the Big Blue. You've done your job. Sycamore Aviators helped you out just a little bit there with that penalty, and they obviously dropped the touchdown pass. These are the situations where you got to take advantage of, and you got to get off the field here on 3rd and long.
3rd and 14. They need the 10-yard line to convert. Pair on each side. Fair waiting for the ball on the long count. Deep drop with time. Looking, throwing down the middle. Caught! No, dropped. A second drop here on this drive. This one by McConnell.
Yeah, the Big Blue chose to just bring 3 and drop everybody else back, which gives the quarterback plenty of time. And there was a gap there. There was a wide open gap there in the zone defense the Big Blue played. And we'll see. It looks like they're going to decide to kick it here. But that's circle that drive at the end of this football game. It would not surprise me a bit when we shake our head at the end and say that was the difference.
So Jack Farron on the kick. What looks like a 40-yard field goal attempt. Fair will hold. Good snap. The kick is away, and it's a low liner to the right of the goalpost. No good. So with 5:43 left to play here in this opening quarter, Hamilton holds on defense. They lead at 7-0.
Yeah, I think that's something that Coach Mahan's been preaching for a few weeks now. Brought it up specifically when they went and played Coleraine. He said Colerane's just a different team once they get around the 20-yard line and in. They turn it up a notch. Perhaps he willed or challenged his defense to do the same. You know, you can give up some yardage in the middle of the field, that's fine, but once it gets down inside the red zone, can you get off the field? And they did just that there.
So here's Quincy Sims-Marshall leading his team back out on the field with 5:43 remaining here in this opening quarter. 7-0 in favor of Hamilton. Spot the ball at the 20-yard line. High snap and the give to the tailback, and a good job by Sycamore by containing and holding the ball carrier to the loss. So a loss of 2 for Caleb Johnson.
The first time all night I think we've seen a run that ended up in the backfield. So kudos to the Aviators for coming out and at least making a stand that they are going to try to stop the run here. But again, you got to put a safety over here, and they are going to do that on Darian Bowling. They're going to slide somebody over this way, because if they don't, they're going to have a problem.
And Trace, we haven't seen this much. I mean, this is the third time we've seen Hamilton this year. They're running a full house. Here's a run and a pitch. It goes to Keyshawn Stevens and nowhere to go. Great job by the linebacking core of Sycamore to snuff that one out.
I think if you're the Big Blue, and they may be setting this up, but there's going to be a situation at some point in this game that they're going to have to put a guy coming off the slot area, whether that's coming out of the backfield or whether that's literally coming right out of the slot, and they're going to have to take advantage of the middle of this field, because you can't put safeties over on this sideline against Darian Bowling and not cover him one-on-one. You're going to make them pay for it at some point in this game. Wouldn't surprise me if they hit somebody over the middle here.
Sims-Marshall, and it looks like Caleb Johnson's in the backfield with them now. And the give, it goes to Johnson, up the gut, spun around at the 18, lost the ball, it's loose out of the 15, and Sycamore says they have it.
There was a fumble on the play. It was recovered by Sycamore, number 1.
Well, if you're the Aves offense, you have to be thrilled to death that you're going to get another chance at this. So we'll see if they can take advantage of that. I don't know, Jeff, were you able to pick up who picked that fumble up?
Looked like Apollo Ford, 5'10", 192-pound senior. So another red zone visit, this time for Sycamore, 1st and 10, and they'll spot the ball at the 14-yard line with 4:20 left to go here in this opening quarter. Fair calls for it on a low pitch, and now the give. It goes to Celestine up to the 10-yard line, and he got beaten down right there.
Making a stop for Hamilton, number 5.
Looks like Keyshawn Stevens is getting in on the defensive side of the ball. It's one thing that the Big Blue have done recently. They've started to take some of their athletes and stick them on both sides of the ball. I think at the beginning of this year, Coach Mahan talked about attrition and concerned about wearing his kids out. Now, when you're playing in a game like this, forget about it.
And while we have a moment, we've been very impressed by Jaden Marshall, who's played both sides for Hamilton. Here's the give. Celestine off right tackle, out to the 6, to the 5, pushing forward, and is stopped there. His forward progress really close to where he needed to be for the first down.
Yeah, I think you're, in my opinion, 2-down territory here if you're the Aviators. I think you're going to go, basically 3rd and 2 here. And then if you don't get it here, I think you hurry up and you try to pick it up, because this Big Blue defense is going to be tired. I mean, they've been out there for a while.
Here's the give again. Celestine up the middle. He's got the first down and out of the shadow of the goal line. 1st and goal at the 2.
Yeah, I mean, you got to at some point take advantage of the fact that defense was out there for an extended period of time on the first drive, and then they had to go right back out of there and 3 plays with the fumble recovery for the Aviators. Those big linemen up front will get tired if you leave them out there too long.
First and goal at the 2-yard line with 3:05 to play. And we're seeing a full house. Here's the give, and Celestine is wrapped up in the backfield for a loss.
I think that might have been Keyshawn Stevens or Jaden Marshall maybe coming off the edge there. It is Jaden Marshall coming off the edge there and making a big-time play. It's one situation where, don't get it twisted, though, the Aviators coordinator right there just took note of the fact that, hey, you're going to have to keep one of these because they're not keying on the quarterback running.
2:30 and counting left to go in this first quarter. 7-0 Hamilton. But Sycamore's knocking on the door. Motioning is KJ Sally out to the right side. They load up that side. Fair on the throw. It is caught. Touchdown in favor of Sycamore, and they're point away from tying it up. KJ Sally on the reception.
That was a good job right there. They felt like maybe they didn't. I thought they had the advantage up front, maybe just to run that thing right inside and score a touchdown, but they obviously felt like the last defensive play that the Big Blue had, they might be able to pull that, same type of effort again. Turns out they did a little bootleg there and found Sally for the touchdown.
Jack Farron on for the point after, out of the hold of Fair, and the point after is good. So with 2:17 left to play in this opening quarter, Sycamore answers back and ties it up at 7 apiece. Fair got his 7th touchdown of the year on a drive that went 5 plays, only needed 14 yards. It took up 2 minutes and 3 seconds, capped off on the touchdown pass to KJ Sally.
Yeah, the Aviators did exactly what they needed to do, is they took advantage of the turnover. You got to win the turnover battle, and you can't give up touchdowns when you get inside the red zone, and the Big Blue did just both of those, if you will, in a matter of minutes. But that being said, it's 7-7. Brand new ball game here with 2 minutes left in the first quarter.
By the way, that's the first touchdown reception this year for KJ Sally, who's a tight end on this team. And as you saw from our video, that he did line up in that tight end slot. He does play out on that wing. So 7 apiece here in Hamilton. It's a must-win for both teams, as both teams are 4-4. They are 7-8 in the Region 4 playoff scenario. We will tell you a little bit more about that as we progress through the broadcast. But the fact is, right now, Hamilton, if we were to start the playoffs today, is in.
Barely in, but they're in, and that's all that matters. I think that's a huge accomplishment for Coach Mahan, and I think he's even thrilled to death if they're even talking about the playoffs here in Week 8. But that being said, there's about 36 minutes left that separates whether or not the Big Blue will make the postseason or not.
Taking one by the Upman by the 15, 20, cuts to the middle, 25, 30, has the alley out to the 35, to the 40, out to the 45, and that, of course, is Caleb Johnson out to the 48-yard line.
Yeah, and I think, again, you're in positive field position, and it doesn't surprise me if they're not going to play a safety or at least shade a safety towards number 13. Wouldn't surprise me a bit if they're going to take another chance over the top to Darian Bowling.
They're going to give Caleb Johnson forward progress all the way out to the 50-yard line. So a short field for Hamilton on their third at bat. Tied up at 7 apiece here in Hamilton. Here's the give to the tailback, and Caleb Johnson off right tackle for a couple, still churning. And a great job by even just getting a couple of yards there right into that heart of that Sycamore defense. Justin Williams on the stop.
It's like they got a flag down there. I don't know if they're going to pick it up or what.
And we do see it out at the 49-yard line. Again, tonight's referee is Mark Allen. And
typically means holding.
11 on the offense. 15 yards, second down.
That's just a big mistake there. If you're Luke Matee, it's senior night. I get you're a little fired up out there, but your team needs you to make smart decisions, and a 15-yard penalty really, for the most part, almost takes you out of this drive unless they find a big-time play here outside, or perhaps they can break a run.
Again, a full house in the backfield. It's an amended pistol, if you will, because you have 2 wing backs, not quite the wing T, though because of the shotgun. Sims Marshall, the high hand, and it goes to the tailback, out to the 40-yard line. I guess that was Johnson again.
Number 2, Caleb Johnson.
And they gained some of that yardage back out to the 40-yard line.
A little chippy out there, as we would expect. Both teams fighting for a playoff spot. And this is the game of football at the end, but that is not something that you want to see if you are a Big Blue fan.
We do have an official stoppage with 1:17 to play here in this opening quarter. Caleb Johnson is the injured player. He clutching his right knee, and that's not a good sign, especially from somebody who runs the ball as well as he does.
Yeah, is it 100% too, I assume, or 12? You may have gotten a better look at it than I did, but nonetheless, if you're a Big Blue fan, the last thing you want to see is someone holding their knee.
Well, we've got a moment as we do talk through this. I want to talk about the scenario that lines up, at least from a GMC standpoint in this ball game, or at least going through Week 9. Fairfield is leading the way with an 8-0 record. They're perfect coming into tonight. They are plus 161 in scoring. In other words, they're scout scoring their opposition 251 to 90 through 8 games. Colerain's nipping right at their heels. They're also 6-0 in conference. They are 7-1 overall, 228. That's the number of points that they've scored, and they've only given up 120 points. They have a plus point differential of 108. Lakota West and Princeton are behind them. Lakota East, Mason, Hamilton, and Sycamore, as we told you, that they were basically tied for 7th in the conference. Middletown and then Oak Hills bring up the backside here in the conference. But next week is basically a de facto GMC championship game, and that should be something to behold as Fairfield and Colerain will match up to see who wins the title in this one. If Fairfield wins, they'll win it outright, and they will likely have the number 1 seed in Region 4. If they lose to Colerain, they'll share the title, and there's going to be chaos in Region 4 on where they will be seated. And it does look like Caleb Johnson.
Yeah, that's just a tough thing to see if you're a Big Blue fan. And fortunately for them, they at least have another dynamic playmaker in the backfield in Keyshawn Stevens. So not all is lost. Not similar to, we got to see Josh Bryant last week from Middletown, and I don't think you can replace him on the Middletown roster. And not to say that, Caleb Johnson's replaceable here, but at least you got number 5 in the backfield still if you're a Big Blue fan.
Keyshawn Stevens is the tailback. Quick pass out to the far side, out to the 40, to the 30, out to midfield.
That pass was
across midfield out to the 48. And Jalen Marshall, the regular linebacker turned wide receiver, we saw him a week ago catch a 22-yard touchdown in the first quarter.
Yeah, and that's where you see the penalty come back to haunt you. I mean, you have a 15-yard penalty on 2nd down, and you're left with 4th and 8. And you really leave no other choice but to punt this ball, and we'll see if the Big Blue defense, though, can't respond, similar to what the Sycamore Aviator defense has done.
So Jordan McConnell's back out at his own 17-yard line awaiting the punt. We'll see if they get this off. They will. It's a spiraling kick. McConnell coming up for it, and he plays it, calls a fair catch out at the 24-yard line. And time has expired here in this first quarter. Your score after 1 period in the books here in Hamilton. It's the Big Blue 7 and the Aviators 7. This is the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live.
A place where you are welcome. A place for excellent care. A place that will help you to get and stay healthy. Primary Health Solutions, where health and healing come together.
Aviators. Along with Trace Fowler, I'm Chef Kim. Thanks for joining us for the Game of the Week here on Chatterbox Live. It's a de facto play-in game here in the GMC in Week 9, the penultimate week here of the regular season. And Trace and I, we get a chance to talk through this throughout the week. We cannot wait for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about who might make it, who might not make it, who gets matched up with who in the first round, and it's just going to finally be enjoyable to see what actually happens and who could become victorious during playoff time.
So Jordan McConnell gets the carry, the first carry of the second quarter, and a pickup of 6, and they move quickly back to the line. Ball spotted right in the middle of the field. Again, they'll play McConnell all over the place. They'll line him up as a flanker to the right. 2nd and 4. Fair calling for it. And he lost the handle. It's loose on the ground. A scrum for it. And it's picked up by Hamilton.
No,
Sycamore.
Sycamore snagged it up there at the end. It looked as if Hamilton snagged it on the ground. Sycamore picked it up and almost got some yardage out of it.
It looked like for a second that Jaden Marshall had it right in front of us, but Andrew Fair actually got it and kept it alive out at the 31-yard line. So only a loss of 1 on the play to bring up 3rd down.
Yeah, and again, this is a big-time play here. Big-time play in this game. The Big Blue defense is going to become tired if they're going to stay on this field for quite some time tonight, and these are situations you just got to get off of it.
Here's the give. It goes to Celestine off the right tackle, and Hamilton's not having any of it.
Yeah, it's a big-time swarm of tacklers there. Looked like Nathan Pratt kind of set the edge there and got the tackle. And it's going to bring on the punting unit for the Aviators.
A 3 and out. With 10:27 left to play here in this half, tied up at 7. On a loss of 1 on the last play. See if that's Stevens back out at the 36. Andrew Fair will punt. He's the team's quarterback as well, and we get a flag before we can get that one away. As we mentioned, Andrew Fair doubles as both the team's punter and quarterback. It's a 5-yard penalty against the offense. Andrew Fair is averaging right around 33 yards per punt. He's got 1 touchback on the season and has placed the ball inside the 20. He's going to have to kick it really well here to get that. Keyshawn Stevens at his own 40. It's a line drive kick, taking Stevens back. It's off his hands at the 35. Picks it up at the 30. Back to the 35. Spun around at the 37, and he had just another step. It would have gone a little further, but he is stacked up there.
A little scary there at first for the Big Blue faithful here in attendance. But was able to scoop it up and get a little bit of a minimal game, and nothing less, at least you didn't turn it over. And that's the biggest thing, in these big-time games. Emotions get high, and sometimes perhaps you try to do more than what you normally would try to do, and you cough it up sometimes. But that being said, big drive here for the Big Blue, and we'll see if they can't take advantage of the offensive line that had the advantage there to start the game.
Well, they look so good on that first drive.
Yeah. Didn't look so good on the other drives, though. So we're going to find out what we get here, I guess, huh?
Yes. With 9:43 left to play in this half, tied up at 7. Quincy Sims-Marshall has Keyshawn Stevens in the backfield with them. And the give, it goes to Keyshawn up across that line of scrimmage, and we've got a flag on the play here as well.
And we got another flag. And again, looks like it's going to be a hold on Luke Mattia, and he needs to understand that, hey, a 15-yard penalty on top of this penalty would be devastating. Just a 10-yard penalty is overcomable.
We saw Quincy Sims-Marshall tying his shoe for just enough, actually it was Keyshawn Stevens, for a long enough time. Sounded like Mark Allen was a little beside himself on the call. 1st and 20, they're going to spot the ball at the 27-yard line with 9:35 left to play in this half. We're tied up at 7. Glad to have you along here in Hamilton for the Game of the Week here on Chatterbox Live. And for the first time, as far as my time here with Trace, we've got video to present you tonight. Here's deep drop. Here's Sims-Marshall and the floater down the side. No good. Intended for bowling.
just got away from him a little high. And, one thing that we failed to mention, we should mention, is that, the reason that we're able to do videos, we got a student broadcast team here that's helping us. And secondarily to that is streaming on the Big Blue Network YouTube channel as well. So that being said, it's just enjoyable to have a bit of help some students, I guess, as well.
Well, we're glad to have Hamilton along with us. Here's the give to the back, across the 30, out to the 35, and pretty close to the original line of scrimmage on the little fly sweep to Jalen Marshall.
Yeah, Jaden Marshall is going to probably get a little more playing time, if you will, tonight than he has been used to getting all year long. Usually a defender guy that plays the secondary. Sometimes he's actually stepped up this year and played linebacker at times. They got him out there in the slot now, and just last week we were able to see him come off the slot and score a touchdown there against the Middies on the opening drive. So we'll see if that isn't in store as well for him tonight.
We now see Burnett in the slot as he came back into the ballgame. 3rd and 11 at the 36. Sims Marshall rolling right, throwing right, complete to the right, out to the 40, to the 45, and a first down for Hamilton.
It's a well-executed, well-designed play. Get a guy on the outside, avoid the rush, and Kevon Burnett right there might not get any of the credit, if you will, statistically, but he made it a key block to spring Jaden Marshall and allow him to pick up that first down, as we have a aviator now taking a spill on the turf here.
Looking to see who that is, but before we do, we'll tell you that Hamilton needed 11 on the play. They picked up 15 on that last play as we stopped the clock with 8:26 left to go here in this first half. We're tied up at 7. And an eventful and a quick-moving ball game. Caleb Johnson, who has since exited the ball game with an injury himself, he scored the game's first points on a 27-yard touchdown run. And then KJ Sally on a reception, a 2-yard pass from Andrew Fair deep into the first quarter with 2:17 left, scored up the equalizer. So we are tied up at 7, and Sycamore players are down on a single knee.
It's not too late to start earning your
And we're trying to see what's going on there. I think we're due for a break, so we'll take one right here. So with 8:26 left to play here in this half, we're tied at 7. It's the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live.
You can apply for admission by
College degree that's respected at a price you can afford? Miami University Regionals offers flexible options and small classes, guaranteeing you'll receive personal attention from some of the best in the business. Test drive your future career by doing an internship or co-op, or expand your world perspective by studying abroad. With more than 50 student organizations on campus, there's something for everyone. When it's all said and done, you will have earned one of the most respected degrees in the business. Miami University Regionals. Visit our website for more.
8:20 left to play in this half, tied up at 7. It's the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live, along with Trace Fowler. I'm Jeff Kim. We're glad to have you along for senior night in Hamilton. Dylan Andre was the injured party on the last play, and now here comes Hamilton once more with a running play and a gain of a couple on the run for Keyshawn Stevens.
Yeah, and again, what the running game has really allowed or afforded the opportunity to for the Big Blue again is the outside. They got to put more men in the box to be able to stop the run, which opens up a one-on-one matchup out here on the outside, and you have to take advantage of that here soon with Darian Bowling. And make no mistake, they're going to. Make no mistake, they will throw it out here soon. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Some confusion on the Hamilton sideline as Burnett comes in, and he'll be a flanker to the right. And we have a timeout charged to Sycamore. I think they were confused as much as Hamilton was in deciding who their personnel was, because we saw Jalen Marshall and Kevon Burnett decide they were jockeying which one of us is going to play this one. Yep. And instead, because of that, Sycamore is looking at themselves and they're kind of wondering what to do, so they call the timeout.
Yeah, and I don't want to be a broken record here all night, but I would say this. If you're the defensive coordinator sitting up in the booth and seeing the same angle we had, I'd be calling timeout too, based off the fact that there was absolutely nobody to help on the single side of the field here, the nearest side of the field with Darian Bowling. You cannot put – I don't care who you are. If there's a kid in high school that can guard Darian Bowling one-on-one, he's going to a Division I school without question, in my opinion. You can't put a kid on here on an island that's already proved that he can't win a jump ball. So it wouldn't be surprising at all if they decide not to put a safety over here on this side of the ball with Darian. But just because they can make an adjustment doesn't mean the Big Blue can as well. So we'll see what they decide to do here on this big second down.
7:27 left to go here in this half, tied up at 7. Sims Marshall is the quarterback. Again, 2 fullbacks in an amended pistol. Keyshawn Stevens is the deep back. He gets the ball off right tackle, has a lane out to the 40. He's got a first down and more to the 35 before he's escorted out of bounds.
Yeah, he got the edge, and the Big Blue did a good job of sealing the edge there on that run and afforded a lot of open space for number 5. And whenever you give open space to number 5, he's going to take advantage of it, and he did just that for the Big Blue with a big first down, and we'll see if they move quick, but my guess is they will not.
They set up on the far hash mark at the 34. A long count as they change the play from the sideline. Twins to the near side. Again, the amended pistol. Sims Marshall looking left. Now looking home run down the left side. Bowling one-on-one. It's off his hands out at the 3-yard line and guarded very well out there by Jacob Andre.
Yeah, give Jacob Andre some credit. I've been up here talking about how there's no way in the world I'd put someone out there on an island. I still wouldn't, but he did a great job defending, sealed off Darian there, and allowed himself to get prime position to make a play on the ball, and he did just that. So give all the credit in the world to Jacob Andre, the defensive back, 5'5", 132-pound senior on senior night, even though it's not for him.
2nd and 10 at the 34. The give to the running back, and a nice cut back as we have a flag on the play here as well.
Tell you what, poor Justin Thomas here is keeping the production truck here running for us. His fingers are going to get tired of hitting that flag button.
Thanks to Justin for serving as our technical director tonight. We appreciate everybody who's part of our broadcast. A full house. You know, we've seen the full house out on the field tonight. Yeah. We've got a full house here up in the perch. We're going to call it the perch here at Hamilton High School.
Yeah. Alex Gray on the camera there. Devontae on the camera. We got them all up here, man. We're doing the best we can for the Chatterbox crew, man.
Well, we're having a good one. Of course, Sean Spurlock being our executive producer tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's really doing on that. I think he's looking at his phone an awful lot. So
he's a score man. You know, he just likes to keep us up to date. One thing he did bring up for Big Blue fans is Anderson's playing one on Walnut Hills tonight, and Big Blue fans have to be pretty big Anderson fans tonight. And so far, not so good, as the ticker has indicated a few times here lately that Walnut Hills is up 21-7 on Anderson, which has some playoff implications.
Mattia is a tight end to the right, a tight formation. Sims Marshall throws, Bowling has it at the 30. 25, 23-yard line, move the chains, 1st and 10.
Yeah, you're not going to guard him one-on-one. Forget it. You can't do it. I mean, if at some point here, and that's, again, oh my goodness, there's a limping off here. Darian Bowling's limping off, and I think Coach Mahan just told him, brother, how hurt are you? Because I need you out there.
Well, he's going to be replaced as Jalen Marshall takes his place in the lineup and lines up as a split end to the left. Burnett's flanked out to the right. Again, a tight formation for Hamilton. Looking left to Sims Marshall. Home run down for Jalen Marshall. He's got a touchdown.
That's a big-time throw. Big-time throw and a big-time play there for Jaden Marshall. And I tell you, forget it. And if it's going to take me taking my headsets off and going downstairs and talking to this Aviator defensive staff, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But you can't put these kids out on corners with the athletes that Hamilton has on the outside. Now, I understand you're trying to stop the run, but give all the credit in the world. Coach Mahan and their crew, they see what's going on. They decided to take another chance downfield, and it worked out for them with the big touchdown there.
23 yards. Martinez on to kick the point after for Hamilton. As we await here. Snap, the kick is away and good. So with 6:19 left to play here in this first half, we've got a brand new score here in Hamilton as the Big Blue have a 14-7 lead over the Aviators.
Yeah, and you can see here right in the back of the end zone there on the replay, Jaden Marshall did a good job of keeping his feet in bounds. You know, it's one of those things where it's a situation you got to know where you're at on the field when you're going down the sideline like that. And he knew where the back of the end zone was able to keep his feet in. And give credit to Quincy Sims Marshall. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. The kid can make throws when it matters, and he's done it. Done it again. Did it at the beginning of the Mason game. Didn't turn out. we didn't talk about it a whole lot because it turned out that Mason really went on a roll and kind of wiped out the Big Blue that night, but he makes good throws.
Jaden Marshall has a second touchdown of the season, and it comes on consecutive games. I don't know if Chatterbox Live is a good luck charm for him.
Well, I'll tell you.
But that's the way I'm looking at it. Scoring summary on that one, 10 plays that took 63 yards, 3 minutes and 24 seconds off the clock. And a cap off, Sims Marshall to Marshall from 23 yards out.
Yeah, we've seen last week a few times the Big Blue decided to kind of do a little squib kick up the middle or even pooch it a little bit. We'll see if they don't decide to do that here. There is a decent amount of open space there between the up men and the guys that are back to return. So we'll see if they can't drop it in between them.
Here's a squibber, this time right up the middle, a grounder, and taking at the 26, out to the 30, to the 35, 37-yard line. And that's where Sycamore will start first and 10.
And we got another flag. And that guy, not to cut you off, Jeff, but I don't know if you've seen that flag, and I hope we got it on video there. My man just threw that flag so high, it went 13 yards behind him. I'm not sure if there was a penalty, if you can see where the flag is. I'm not sure if there was a penalty over there because there was no players there.
Dead ball. Personal foul. Number 1 on the 13. 15 yards. First down.
Nope.
Apollo Ford. So they're going to march off some yardage instead of getting that 37-yard landing spot to start off the drive. They're going to march it back out to, we'll see where they actually put this. If it's 15 yards, it should be right around the 22-yard line.
Yeah, you never know in this league, do you, Jeff? Sometimes it seems like a 15-yard penalty turns into 5. It just depends on who's marching the ball back.
So for our Hamilton audience that's not always following this, that might not seem funny, and we've got flags here as before we get started. But for those who've been following us on Chatterbox Live throughout the season, Trace and I have at least one moment per ball game where we look at each other and say, where should that really be?
Yeah, I think it even happened week 1 when you weren't with us. With you mentioned Sean Spurlock earlier in the match. He brought up the fact that there was a 15-yard penalty after a play was dead, and they ended up marking it off like it was during the play. But hey, the guys in stripes matter, and we need to keep them out there in order for the games to happen. And by all means, we'll take it easy on them.
Procedure call against Sycamore, 1st and 15 at the 17-yard line. Fair with a deep count, looking. Throwing, home run, down the far side for McConnell, out of the 50, it's incomplete. And a good job out there by Keyshawn Stevens to go step for step with him.
Yeah, that's one strategy if you're the Aviators offense, is just to keep testing Keyshawn Stevens down the field, because at some point the man's got to get tired. His counterpart in Caleb Johnson seems to be what, perhaps is out for the game, so why not?
2nd and 15 with 6:07 frozen on the clock. 14-7 in favor of Hamilton here on senior night. It's week number 9 of the high school football season, the penultimate week of the regular season here in 2019. Anapple is the wide out to the near side, and we've got another stoppage in play.
It's like a timeout.
And we do have a timeout with 6:07. So in talking about some of the things that led into this ball game here in Week 9, wanted to talk a little bit about what happened with Sycamore last week. Not necessarily from their side of things, but Sycamore lost to Fairfield, who stays perfect on the season. They moved to 8-0, and the player that's going to be the player of the year in the conference, he's going to be a Division I to all-state representative, Chaton McLean, had a huge night. 26 carries for 256 yards a week ago, 3 touchdowns. He had an 85-yarder in the first quarter, and you can imagine that already broke Sycamore's back a week ago.
Yeah, we talked about the Fairfield Indians the first few weeks, and we had said, well, if Chaton McLean didn't break this 85-yard run, the score would have been this instead of that. And by week 3 or 4, I think we just said, you know what? I think Chaton McLean's just going to break an 85-yard run every game, so that's just part of Fairfield. So as we get back to action here, it looks like they got a little screen pass that it's going to be incomplete. But nonetheless, you mentioned Chaton McLean, probably going to get to see him next week. We're excited about that.
Absolutely.
When we head over there to that big matchup, big GMC matchup, it's probably going to determine who wins the league. And GMC, the Colerain Cardinals, who perennial have dominated this league. and then the Indians, who are the up-and-coming team, if you will, this year.
Well, they were 7-4 a year ago, and if you talk to the Fairfield players and coaches, they felt like that they had more in the tank before they exited the first round a year ago. 3rd and 15 and another flag. So we've got dirty laundry here on this drive.
I got a question for you. Do you think that the Aviators love yellow so much that they just pick up flags on purpose during the game, that they just want to see those yellow handkerchiefs come out? Starting to wonder. I'm starting to wonder.
5 yards, still 3rd down.
You just heard the voice of Mark Allen, who's tonight's referee. Another procedure call against Sycamore with 6:01 left to play in this first half.
Yeah, you got to watch out for the screen here if you're the big blue.
Fair, looking deep, throwing, and there's the screen. Out to the 20, and the runner takes it out to the 25 to the 30-yard line, a little short of where he needed to be out for the first time. I think it was Celestine on that one.
I'll tell you what, if you're the Aviators here, you're in a situation where you consider going for this. And I know that seems crazy when you're on your own side of the field, but it's only 2 yards. Yeah, it looks like they're going to bring out the punt team, but I wouldn't have blamed them for going for it just based off the fact they've had success on the ground today, and I think there's a good chance they pick up the 2 yards if they decide to run the football.
So watch for the fake here is what you're saying.
Yeah, I am. I don't think, you got a few timeouts if you're the big blue. If you don't feel like you're in a spot where you're happy with, you can take one.
Andrew Fair, as we mentioned, is the team's punter as well as the quarterback, and we got a whistle.
Looks like
and a timeout.
Yeah, I think they're considering going for this. I really do. I think at some point in this game, you make a stand and you take a chance. I know 4th and 2 from your own 30 is not the traditional way of doing it, but you've had success on the ground. And if serves me right, the punter is the quarterback.
Right. Well, and here's the case with Andrew Fair. Even though he's only run and I say only, right? Only run for 118 yards this season. He does have mobility. He can score a touchdown on the ground. They do need only 2 yards from scrimmage. And he's also a run-pass option. So, in other words, if you split out somebody on the side, and if they're left open, he's going to hit them in stride.
Yeah, the big blue don't think they're going to punt. I can tell you that. They got a couple guys back, and they're not really in a safe, what you would call a safe or prevent defense with fake punt. So, we will see here.
So, the deep return man is Keyshawn Stevens out at his 31, backpedaling. Fair's punt is away. And Keyshawn Stevens will let it roll down to the 30, down to the 20, down inside, right at the 20. So we can't call it inside the 20-yard line, but a heck of a punt from a yardage standpoint, 50 yards.
Yeah, I think that that's what you'd like if you're the Sycamore Aviators on that punt, but also if you're the big blue, you just don't want to turn it over. You can see Coach Mahan there on the sidelines telling his kids to get out of the way of it, just let it go. Some of that is he kind of wants the yardage. Coach Mahan talks about, controlling the line of scrimmage and controlling the game clock. It would not surprise me if he challenges his offense as he's there in the huddle that, hey, let's control this ground here, and let's go into halftime with a 21-7 lead, and let's run this clock out.
By the way, since he exited the ballgame with an injury, we have yet to see the return of Caleb Johnson, and I see him nowhere on the bench. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line with 4:56 left to play here in this opening half. Here's the give. It goes to Stevens into the secondary, to the 30, to the 35, a pickup of 15.
Yeah, that's hard running right up the middle there, and he maybe really didn't make any guys miss, just broke their tackles. And that's a good job. He's a hard runner. He's a special back too. Caleb Johnson got a lot of credit last week, but he's just as good. Just depends on the week. If you look at the stats, they'll tell you that.
Jacob Andre credited with the tackle, but I'm not sure if it wasn't Keyshawn Stevens that really tackled Andre. So 1st and 10 at the 35-yard line. Here's another give, and this time Sycamore's ready. They'll stack up Stevens for a loss. A loss of 3, maybe 4 on the play.
On the stop for Sycamore, number 25, Kai Williams.
Williams on the stop. 4:11 left to play here in this opening half. 14-7 Hamilton with the lead. We've seen a lot of Luke Mattia at tight end tonight, by the way. Jaden Marshall is a split end to the left. Kevon Burnett is the flanker to the right. A tight formation once more for Hamilton. And another run play. It goes to Stevens. Off right tackle. Into the secondary again. Across the 35 down to the 39-yard line.
Yeah, that's less. I think that's less about trying to pick up the first down at this point and more about making sure that clock continues to dwindle. You don't want to give the Sycamore Aviators the ball back with too much time, as they do have the ability to move it up the field pretty quickly. I think worst case scenario, if you're the Big Blue, you're just trying to go into the half with the lead as it stands where it's at now.
3rd and 5, and a long count here for Hamilton. Out on the far hash mark with 3:15 to play here in this first half. Here's a little pass into the flat. It's incomplete, intended for Marshall.
Yeah, he just didn't get a good grip on the ball there as it got snapped back to him. Quincy Sim Marshall didn't, and really at that point it never was able to even have a chance to make it to Marshall, and you can tell Coach Mahan's not pleased. Sycamore doesn't have any timeouts left, which is a big deal, because if they were able to pick up a first down there, it was pretty much control the clock at your own will and see if you can't perhaps kick a field goal or score going into half. Now you give it back. Clock does stop on first downs in high school, so the Aviators can essentially call timeouts just based off picking up first downs.
Timeout. Hamilton, their first of the half.
So we got a timeout with 3:10 left to play. We've got a score here as we reset here, 14-7. The game scoring initially started with Caleb Johnson's 27-yard touchdown run. KJ Sally got a 2-yard touchdown reception from Andrew Fair to tie it up, of course, with extra points on both sides. And then Jaden Marshall got a 23-yard touchdown reception and a great job at the back of the end zone on the nice touch pass from Quincy Sims Marshall to give them a 14-7 lead.
Certainly did that, and I think at some point here, if you're the Aviators, you got to ask yourself, when are we going to take our chances as well? Because I think that, they've had some success on the ground without question, but McConnell's such a threat over the middle, as we've seen. He tore West apart that second half by those quick little, slants across the middle and the 9 route, as you mentioned before. But we'll see what they decide to do here as the Big Blue punt when they get it back on offense.
Looks like Justin McCullough back to punt from his own 25-yard line. Jordan McConnell out at the 26 of his own at Sycamore's end. Here's a good snap, and they'll play for the return. McConnell calling for the fair catch out at the 28-yard line. Yards, nothing on the return, and with 3:03 left to play, we'll see if Sycamore can answer back and tie this up. They're down 14-7 here in this ballgame.
Oh, you're right where you want to be. You have plenty of time on the scoreboard there, 3:03, and it's a situation where, as I said before, you pick up a first down, the clock stops. So even though you don't have timeouts, it's not really that big of a, hindrance, if you will. If you're playing on Sundays in the NFL, it's a big deal, but here, not so much.
Tight formation here for Sycamore. Play action, Fair on the deep drop, flushed out of the pocket, rolls back to the left with time, and now he'll have to keep it himself, and he'll matriculate it up to the 35-yard line. So a good piece of running here for Andrew Fair as Theodore Sharp was there on coverage with the tackle.
15, Andrew Fair.
Yeah, you'll take it, though, if you're the Big Blue. Keyshawn Stevens was all over that route on the outside, nowhere for Fair to go, so he decided to cut back and did a really good job of getting some yardage where it didn't look like that was the case at the beginning.
2nd and 5 out at the 35-yard line. Again, McConnell in motion, and they'll give it to him off the left side. He's into the secondary. He has a first down out of the 40-yard line.
Number 22, Jordan McConnell.
That's a nice little pick up there, and again, I expect them to go right back to the pass here to try to pick up a first down and stop that clock, as it will wind as soon as they set this ball.
And they'll set it at the 41-yard line. They needed 5. They got 6. Nathan Pratt on the stop. 1st and 10 at the 41, a quick count. And again, they look for McConnell, who cuts back as he found a lane initially, and then it was shut off by Hamilton. And a great job by that linebacking core. Jordan Jones on the stop for Hamilton. We're under 2 to play here in this first half. An entertaining one to be sure here in Hamilton. 14-7 in favor of the home team on senior night. Deep drop, Fair. He throws out to the far side. It is complete. And out there for the completion, Markel Fisher.
Yeah, good little out route there by Fisher. got his feet down in bounds and got pushed right out of bounds there, right around the first down marker. We'll see if they give it to him or not. I'm not sure at this point if they decided to do that. Looks like they have not, just short.
Little short. Third, and we're going to call it a really short one out of the 50-yard line. It's a run play up the middle and a first down carry for Sycamore.
Yeah, now you got to start asking yourself about this clock. I had talked about it before at the beginning of the drive, and at this point, you got a minute 40, and you got to start picking up first downs on these throws, because if not, that clock's going to get swallowed up here pretty quickly, and you got to give yourself time for at least a field goal opportunity, if not a heave for the end zone for a touchdown.
Deep drop for Fair, looking out to the sideline for Fisher once more. This time it's incomplete. Dylan Lee out in coverage. 1:29 left to go towards intermission.
I might have to go down to the local Meijer here and grab a winter jacket by the end of this. I said it felt really good. That first quarter to the second quarter difference, not so good for Trace.
Well, I'm very lucky to have a third layer tonight as we got a pair of wides to each side, and here's Celestine across the 45 down to the 42-yard line, and a nice pickup for Demir Celestine.
Yeah, but again, you got stopped there before the first down marker, and at some point you got to start asking yourself, this clock is going to come into play. And they're not really in too big of a hurry here. You're down to a minute and 5.
Celestine is the tailback to the right of Andrew Fair. And now the quarterback keeping it across the 40, and I agree with you, Tracy, as he tries to push his way to the first down. I think he's going to be a little short no matter what, and the clock's going to continue to run with 50 seconds left to play here in this half.
And on the stop for Hamilton, number 8, Braden Jackson.
So it's 4th and 1, the 38-yard line, and a pair of wideouts to each side. And we've seen them have fourth down magic before. Here's the give. It goes to Celestine. He's stopped.
Well, now you got to worry about the fact that the Big Blue have 2 timeouts, and they can get a first down. Takes a couple first downs, and it was Braden Jackson who came in and got the tackle for loss and the turnover on downs. And, Jeff, I'll be honest, the Big Blue got a kicker that had made 2 47-yard field goals there at the end of a half earlier this year, so they have a kid in Eric Rios who has the leg to be able to do it, so whether or not they can get him in position. Or if you're Coach Mahan, I'll ask you this: do you just kind of take your run there and head into the half before you maybe some controversy happens and you turn it over yourself?
I actually go for the home run here with 30 seconds left here in this first half and try to set an exclamation point as you head to the locker room. Sims Marshall, a give to the tailback across the 40, out to the 42, and he is wrapped up there for a gain. So they weren't going to go for the home run after the pickup of 4, beg your pardon here. And as we wind down the clock, I don't know if they'll get off another play here with 15 seconds left.
Yeah, I think that had more to do with what Sycamore was doing there in that situation than what perhaps Coach Mahan had in store or had planned. If you came out, the Aviators really essentially played a prevent defense there and dared Hamilton to try to take that home run ball, as you had mentioned. Turns out they'll take the run and take it in half.
And we are at the half. Your score at intermission here on Senior Night in Hamilton. It's the Big Blue 14 and the Aviators of Sycamore 7. This is the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live.
Ladies and gentlemen.
A routine is a good thing to have. And sometimes a routine is a good thing to break. Take a break and start your morning at McDonald's. Get a sausage McMuffin, sausage burrito, sausage biscuit, or any size hot coffee. Any 2 for $2. Only till 11 a.m. Because if you don't deserve a morning that's a little easier and a lot tastier, who does?
American Veterans Post 1983 ROTC program. The Navy Junior Reserves
Ankle sprains are the most common injury for athletes in all sports. Before returning to athletics, it's vital that an athlete be able to run, jump, and cut without pain. Range of motion, balance, and strengthening exercises are necessary before return to play, as well as preventing a sprain from becoming a chronic issue. Be sure to seek appropriate medical attention for an ankle sprain. Sometimes they're not as straightforward as they appear and may need a physician evaluation.
Hello and welcome back out here to the Swarm here in Hamilton, Ohio. Justin Thomas here with you for the halftime report. If you've been tuning in here, you've heard Jeff Kim and Trace Fowler giving you all the play-by-play action here of the Hamilton Big Blue and the Sycamore Aves. This GMC Tilt has a lot to play for. Maybe not necessarily for the conference title, but it has a lot in playoff implications. And Hamilton currently up 14-7 over Sycamore. So let's get you some scores from around the region here, as there is a lot of action happening, like I said, for the playoffs that are going to be some big games here. One down there in Colerain Township at this point in time. It's the Colerain Cardinals. They were down 3-0 to Lakota East, but now it is up. Colerain Cardinals up 13-3. There's about just a minute left before the half on their last score here. So for that one, that was a big one. Obviously, Colerain coming in as a undefeated record, but also so does Fairfield. And Fairfield, they were out taking on Oak Hills, who is winless. They were trying to figure things out and how that was going to go. And Oak Hills, Fairfield, this one's all Indian so far. Last score we have on that update is 36-0, as Fairfield cruising right now against the Highlanders, which means that should Colerain win and Fairfield win, that next matchup is going to be for all the GMC title hopes on the line between the Indians and the Colerain Cardinals. So that one will be an interesting one on how that finishes out. Also, some scores from around the area. Lakota West down in Sharonville taking on the Princeton Vikings. And this one right now, the Firebirds are in a tight match. They currently trail the Vikings at this one, 20-10. Lakota West actually currently holding that 5 seed in the playoffs, and they're going to try and get a win over Princeton. But Princeton also needs a win to make sure that they stay in that contention as well. So it should be an interesting contest and how that's going to finish out here as we go past halftime. Another game in action. Winless in the GMC, Middletown traveling down Interstate 75 and then cutting down Tylersville Road to get over to Mason, Ohio, as the Comets over there in Comet Country currently hold a lead over the Middies. That one's 20-7 in favor of the home squad, the Green and White Comets. That was the last score about 38 seconds before the half. So, in that one right now, Mason leads the Middletown Middies. As I mentioned before, Colerain over Lakota East at this point in time, 13-3. Fairfield all over Oak Hills, no issues there, 36-0. And then you also have Lakota West currently trailing Princeton as we move forth. Let's even get you some SWAC scores now. How about that? We got a good one up there in this one. Little Miami up 13-10 over the Edgewood Cougars. So that was a battle last year that was having some SWAC implications on the line. This point in time now, Edgewood's just trying to get kind of back in the battle, but Little Miami needs a win, and they need some help from another school in the area, which would be Mount Healthy, as the Mount Healthy Owls were hosting the Harrison Wildcats. Last score that we had on this one was Mount Healthy and the Owls leading 13-7, looks like. Now actually Harrison has taken the lead, so Harrison is up 14-13 in the last score update before we got there. So Wildcats, if they beat the Owls, that means that Harrison is going to win the SWAC title outright. No one can contention with them. If they lose, the door is still open for a host of other teams to possibly tie them. Obviously, Harrison would have to lose also their last game of the season. That would be to winless in the SWAC Northwest. Currently, you got the Ross Rams up there in Dayton taking on Thurgood Marshall. This one's all Rams, 42-6. Plenty of time still left in that second quarter, too, by the way. Actually, now it's 49-6. So 49-6, Ross Rams all over the Thurgood Marshall Cougars. So that one's going in good spirits for the Ross Rams. And overall, your other last score looks like Talawanda is currently leading Northwest 14-0. before we head into the half on that one. So Talawanda and Ross potentially on a collision course and how things are going to shake out for the playoffs in their own division. So we'll have to see how things kind of go around here in the GMC, the SWAC, and other scores around the area. Got you a Baden score. Baden currently up 21-7 over Dayton Carroll. So that's good news for the Rams fans out there, as they're hoping for the Baden Rams to also make the playoffs as well. All right, let's take a look currently at the playoff standings. We'll take a quick look at that here following this commercial.
College degree that's respected at a price you can afford? Miami University Regionals offers flexible options and small classes, guaranteeing you'll receive personal attention from some of the best in the business. Test drive your future career by doing an internship or co-op, or expand your world of perspective by studying abroad. With more than 50 student organizations on campus, there's something for everyone. When it's all said and done, you will have earned one of the most respected degrees in the business. Miami University Regionals. Visit our website for more.
At Jamestown, we believe environment makes a difference in helping you get well and stay well. Private suites and expert speech, physical, and occupational therapy are proven to speed your recovery. Jamestown, the latest addition to Community First Solutions, a not-for-profit network since 1918.
Ankle sprains are the most common injury for athletes in all sports. Before returning to athletics, it's vital that an athlete be able to run, jump, and cut without pain. Range of motion, balance, and strengthening exercises are necessary before return to play, as well as preventing a sprain from becoming a chronic issue. Be sure to seek appropriate medical attention for an ankle sprain. Sometimes they're not as straightforward as they appear and may need a physician evaluation.
Hello, welcome back here to the Swarm here in Hamilton, Ohio. This one's a contest between the Hamilton Big Blue and the Sycamore A's, a GMC contest with playoff implications on the line. Hamilton is up 14-7 on Sycamore. Some dandy touchdowns on either side has helped the Big Blue edge out the Aviators currently in this one. As you can tell, it's senior night here, so we had the seniors for the football team come out and be introduced in the pregame. Same with the cheerleaders here at halftime. It's now reserved for the band members of the state contention Hamilton Big Blue Band, as they are going to compete for hopefully a 1 rating at the state contest here in the OMEA district contest, something that I actually was a part of back in my days in high school. And if you've been listening to our broadcast, you know that's from Shawnee in Lima. Reed always likes to bring that up here with the Shawnee Indians. All right, but as I mentioned before, it is time to talk about some playoff implications currently coming into this. This is all based off the unofficial rankings from Joe Idle, but as we all know, those are about 99% correct. So let's get down to it. Currently in Division 1, Region 4, Fairfield up in the first spot. They are 8-0 in the season. They have the number 1 seed. Right behind them is Elder. The Panthers have moved up, have some big wins. Then you also have St. Xavier and Colerain to finish out the top 4. That would mean those 4 teams, if it started today, would all be hosting the first round of the playoffs. So they have all clinched a playoff spot. They're in. They're good. You just got to finish out the seeding for them. That means there's only 4 spots remaining here for Division 1, Region 4, and there is plenty of teams in contention. The first is the Lakota West Firebirds. They are in the 5 spot. They are currently in the control their own destiny situation. So they don't need people to keep winning or losing or anything like that. If they go out and they get the job done, they get the results they need on the football field, they will make the playoffs. Other teams right behind them, right there in the 6th spot. Guess who? The Princeton Vikings. That game, as we mentioned earlier, was a Vikings 20-10 lead over the Firebirds in Sharonville. So we'll see how that has to play out. See what happens with that. See if Princeton possibly leapfrogs Lakota West. We'll see how that all shakes out. And then right here, the 7-8, the last 2 spots in this playoff situation is the 2 teams squaring off right here at Marshall Swarm Stadium. That's right. The Sycamore Aviators in the 7th spot. You have the Hamilton Big Blue in the 8th spot. So this one has huge implications because there's a whole host of teams following up right behind these two. You look at the 9, it's the Walnut Hills Eagles. In 10, it's Mason. 11, Lakota East. And then after that is 12, West Claremont. 14, Lebanon, then Milford, then Western Hills, who is mathematically eliminated. Moeller's down there with a lot of firepower. I mean, the Crusaders are 1-7, but their last 2 games this season, if they can win, that's going to be hosting in a whole lot of points for them. That's why they're still in contention. Same with Middletown and with Oak Hills down at the bottom. The Oak Hills, although not mathematically eliminated, has to have just about the most perfect scenario. They'd have to win the last 2 and get all sorts of results. But as we mentioned earlier, Fairfield has a pretty handedly lead over Oak Hill. So, as I mentioned before, this one's a big one between Sycamore and Hamilton, figuring out who's going to possibly stick up. And as we mentioned, Walnut Hills, I think Tracy mentioned earlier, Walnut Hills is currently leading Anderson. So that was a big implication for a lot of these GMC schools that are all there, because Walnut Hills is kind of sandwiched between, Lakota West, Princeton, Sycamore, Hamilton, and then on the other side you have Mason and Lakota East. But Lakota East, I'll tell you what, if they can find a way to come back against Colerain and win that game, that would be a massive amount of points to surge them up. They could potentially surge into the playoff conversation. They were only just 2 spots out. The Mason Comets, they had an opportunity last week, but just couldn't quite get the job done against Colerain. So Middletown tonight is a must-win for them, and then they need to find a way to beat Princeton coming up next week. All right, let's take a look at your Division 2, Region 8 playoff standings here at the moment. Talawanda is currently in the 9th spot, which means they are 1 spot out. So actually with Talawanda, they're actually rooting on the other side. We talked about how Hamilton here is probably rooting for Anderson to get the win over Walnut Hills. And for Talawanda, they actually could probably use Anderson to lose, because Anderson is in the 8th spot right there. Talawanda behind them at 9. Last score we had, LaSalle was beating on Whitten Wood, so that would also help Talawanda. Little Miami, though, is beating Edgewood, so Little Miami in the 11th spot. Here's your top 8 in the Division 2, Region 8. It's Turpin, LaSalle, Harrison, all controlling their own destiny. So the Wildcats, as we mentioned, they're in a tight one with the Mount Healthy Owls, but they also are in control of their own destiny. Following that is some Columbus area schools, Canal Winchester, Columbus Walnut Ridge, and Columbus St. Francis de Sales. And then we come back down to the more Dayton-Cincinnati region. Xenia is in the 7th spot, Anderson then in the 8th, as we mentioned before. So Talawanda needs to win this one tonight. They need to also then preferably probably beat the Ross Rams to get into that. But Whitten Wood's right behind them. Little Miami, same situation. Got to win out and have some things to help. Also, Kings is up there in some sort of talks as well, as they are currently 5-3 on the season. They'll need to win out probably as well. Division 3, Region 12. This one is a big one for a lot of the folks that follow us here on Chatterbox Live and Chatterbox Sports, and that's because both the Ross Rams and the Baden Rams are in this one. Both are holding on to the bottom end of the playoff seedings, but both, as we mentioned before, are having leads. Obviously, Chaminade-Julienne has been the top dog so far in this region here. They have the 1 spot, just 1 loss on the season. They have already clinched a playoff spot. Teams behind them, Franklin Wildcats having a really good season so far this year. They're 7-1. They're at the 2 seed. Then we go up to my old stomping grounds, the Western Buckeye League, to see Wapakoneta in the 3 spot. The Redskins are 7-1 on the season. They control their own destiny. Then we move down to Dayton for Trotwood, Madison, and then St. Mary's Memorial back in the Western Buckeye League at the 5 spot. And then here's where we get to our Baden Rams and our Ross Rams. Baden currently in the 6th spot, and Ross is in the 7th spot. Both are going to want to try and win out to get in that spot, make sure they get themselves to the playoffs here. As a result, like we said, Ross Rams currently winning right now, but that Talawanda game, that's going to be a big one, probably in who decides who's going to be in the playoffs and who's not. And I know that's a little weird because they're both in different divisions, but the way it's looking, unless some other things happen around the state of Ohio that help those teams if they should lose, more than likely that might be a win and get in situation. You also have then in the 8th spot is the Hughes Big Red out of Cincinnati right there. Mount Healthy, they're in the 10th spot. They could use that win against Harrison to help bump them up, so that could be interesting and how that shakes out. Bishop Fenwick also right there in the 11th spot. And Bishop Fenwick, by the way, is also one of the games that we're covering tonight on Chatterbox Live. That is going to be with their matchup against Chaminade-Julienne. And I believe that's Nathaniel Hipsley. and Taylor Brennan on the call for that one. And then Reed Mouse and Vinny Pate are on the call with the Baden Rams and the Carroll Patriots. So that should be a good dandy up there. Make sure that you kind of follow score lines there. Make sure you're listening to the second half of this one, as this is going to be one heck of a game, one heck of a finish. Currently, Hamilton on top 14-7 over Sycamore. Stay tuned for more action here from the Schwarm Stadium.
A place where you are welcome. A place for excellent care. A place that will help you to get and stay healthy. Primary Health Solutions, where health and healing come together.
14-7 here at the half, here at Schwarm Stadium, along with Trace Fowler. I'm Jeff Kim. Thanks for joining us here on Chatterbox Live. It's the game of the week. Here on senior night, here for Hamilton, they have the 7-point lead. Thanks, of course, to Justin Thomas, who filled in for us here at halftime. We could take a nice long break, a little siesta for us.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you, but I was about ready to take a nap with how well Justin really filled in for us and made sure that he could get through the talking point that we really needed. Speaking of talking points, we do want to talk through halftime statistics here as we go through. And really some fine numbers here as we go through this one. First for Sycamore, 8 first downs in this one. They rushed the ball 23 times for 99 yards. They had 27 yards passing on 4 of 9 passing completions to attempts. 32 total plays for 126 yards. They fumbled the ball and they've punted a couple of times.
Yeah, I think if you looked at the team total stats, pretty even. You got Hamilton High, 85 passing yards, Sycamore 27, rushing yards 83 to 99. And then first downs, 8-7. And as you mentioned, the turnover, perhaps a really big turnover, one that led to points there for the Aviators to get them on the board first. And then time of possession, 13-21 to 10-39, really pretty evenly matched, if you will, and kind of tells the story why it's 14-7, close ball game.
And it looked like for a while, Hamilton was going to run away with this one statistically, especially the way that Caleb Johnson was running in the first quarter. Hamilton,
right.
Faux pas here. 15 carries for 83 yards. They had 85 yards passing on 5 of 9 passing, 24 total offensive plays for 68 yards, beg your pardon. So that's 7 yards a tick. And then they punted a couple of times here in this one. As Trace had mentioned, 10:39 time of possession for them. Individual leaders here in this one. In rushing, Demir Celestine for Sycamore, 13 carries for 54 yards. Andrew Fair, 4 of 9 passing for 27 yards. He did have a first-half touchdown, the 2-yarder to K.J. Sally. And then in the passing department, 4 players with 1 reception. Demir Celestine had an 18-yarder. And, of course, we did mention K.J. Sally had the 2-yard touchdown reception. For Hamilton, it's Keyshawn Stevens, who had 8 carries for 39 yards. Caleb Johnson had 6 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown before he left the ball game. Quincy Sims-Marshall, 5 of 9 passing for 85 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown went to Jaden Marshall, has 3 receptions to lead everybody in catches tonight for a game-high 50 yards as well. So he has been the X factor since we haven't seen Bowling or Caleb Johnson come back into this ball game.
Absolutely, and I will say this: you ran through a significant amount of stats there, and stats don't always tell the whole story sometimes. And I think the biggest thing here, if you're a Big Blue fan, you have to be a little concerned that not only perhaps you gave the Aviators a touchdown, but this is a team that has proven that that they have the firepower to score quickly. And you can't keep your defense out there for a long time because the attrition will come into play in this third and fourth quarter. They were fortunate enough to rebound there in the second, the end of that second half, or first half, I should say, second quarter, and get their defense off the field a few times. But that's something that if you're a Big Blue fan, you need to be concerned about. Vice versa. If you're an Aviator fan, you have to be concerned about the line of scrimmage, just based off the fact that Keyshawn Stevens had his way a couple times tonight, and when they have their way, it's going to open up a matchup that I've talked about time and time again that does not bode well for the Aviators, and that is a one-on-one matchup on the outside against the likes of a Jaden Marshall or Darian Bowling. They've proven, a couple of those guys can go down the field and catch one deep on top of a defensive back. So, I think that although the stats are evenly matched, both teams have a little silver lining, as I'm sure they talked about when they went into halftime, and we'll see what the second half has in store for us, if anything. If anything, I hope it's a good ball game. It seems as if we've always got our hopes up here in the first half of some of these weeks. We say, we got one. We got a good game. This is it. And next thing you know, it's 29 or 35-7, and the next thing you know, we're asking ourselves what time or when are they turning off the lights. So hopefully that doesn't happen to us here, and we're about to find out here in the next, minute and 20 seconds left before we head back into kickoff.
By the way, a little management piece here for us at Chatterbox Sports. Next week, it's the season finale, the regular season finale, and it may be the only game you need to care about as the Coleraine Cardinals visit the Fairfield Indians for the GMC Championship. If Fairfield wins, they'll win the conference outright with an undefeated regular season. They'll likely have the 1 seed in the Region 4 playoffs. Should the Cardinals win it, they'll share the conference title with Fairfield and create all sorts of chaos in Region 4. I think the outlook that we had seen would be between Fairfield and Coleraine, they would be 3 and 4 seeds. But we still nonetheless, we can't wait. And we'll have the game at Fairfield's Alumni Stadium right here on Chatterbox Live a week from tonight. It is the game of the year at this point.
Yeah, definitely in the GMC. I would say that there would be some arguments to be made in some of the other leagues. And anytime you get in the last week of the season, there's going to be playoff implications all over the place, and which makes this a lot of fun. One of the few times in high school sports, especially in Ohio, where there is a playoff, and it depends on who gets in and who doesn't get in. It seems like every other sport per se, everybody gets in. Doesn't matter how bad of a season you had or how good of a season you had. You do make the playoffs. You do make the postseason. Not the case in football. And with that being said, I do think next week, Coleraine, the perennial favorite, if you will, to win the league every single year, in my opinion, and maybe I'm giving this out a little too quick, they're going to run into a handful out there in Fairfield. And it's just not the same. In my opinion, it's not the same old Coleraine as usual. But they keep winning. And if you keep winning, then obviously you can't sit here and say that it's without question a Fairfield-dominated effort next week. So I expect we get another good one next week. We'll see.
Well, no matter what, and we do have a great game a week from tonight. As we go into Week 11 in the first round of the playoffs, we're going to see a bunch of great games, highly represented in Division I by the GMC. But I do want to make mention, before we do get this kickoff underway, that in Division II, it'll be Harrison. And that group there with that offensive firepower is going to be amazing. So here's the kickoff to one of the men up to the 30, and rebuffed out at the 30 and pushed back his forward progress out to the 30-yard line for Nick Stevenson. And it'll be 1st and 10 for Sycamore to start off this third quarter.
Yeah, the Big Blue elected what they've been traditionally doing, and that's squibbing it right up the middle and giving the guys that are gunning downfield an opportunity to tackle somebody perhaps not as athletic. You typically put your athletes in the back line and expect them to get the ball. Not the case. The Big Blue's not letting that happen.
The line of scrimmage is officially the 28-yard line. Andrew Fair in the gun, quick count, and now a dummy call, and they'll reset from the sideline. Demir Celestine in the backfield with him. As we get underway here in the second half here in Hamilton, 14-7 in favor of the Big Blue. Celestine the give, up the middle, into the secondary, to the 40, to the 50, one man to beat, and a big gainer here on first down, a pickup of 24.
Yeah, just as what you wanted to have happen if you're an Aviator fan or an Aviator coach here coming out at halftime, and that is controlling the line of scrimmage and getting a big gainer and giving your offense some confidence, giving them some confidence coming into the second half. And they are dangerous. I know that they didn't prove it last week. They only scored 15 points against the Middies, but I'm telling you, they can put up points and they can put them up in a hurry.
Fair ahead, again in the gun, and a pistol. And the give to the running back off the right side, looking for room as the tailback in. Snowed under and upended out at the 46-yard line. Celestine for 2.
On the stop for Hamilton, number 24, Jaden Marshall.
As usual, and you probably can hear over the PA announcer, Jaden Marshall in on the tackle. Was in on the tackle last time, chasing Celestine down from behind. But again, I'm just waiting for it, and I don't know why we haven't seen it yet, perhaps, but I just expect the Aviators to use McConnell out of the slot here and try to get him with the matchup over the middle.
Trips to the near side, and McConnell is in the slot to the right. Just a minute gone by here in the second half, 14-7 Hamilton. Fair in the gun, long count, and the give. Celestine off right tackle. He had room momentarily, and his forward momentum took him all the way up to the 41-yard line.
On the stop for Hamilton, number
going to bring up a big third down, and I'm going to pose the question as I usually do to you, Jeff. If you don't get it here, do you go for it? You are on your own side of the field.
It's a good question. I think I'm on the spot and thinking about. I need to think about this.
I say
third
you do.
And 3.
2 down territory here if you're an Aviator.
Well, you got nothing to lose.
No,
well,
you got a lot to lose.
I don't want to say that. Let me rephrase that. You have everything to lose. But in this situation, as Fair is snowed under and sacked back out at the 48-yard line, and now I'm not sure if you go for it.
No. Completely forget about going for it. That was just a hypothetical if you picked up 1, maybe 2. Go ahead and tell Fair to go back there and kick this ball as far as he can. But
Jacob Harmon on the sack for the Big Blue, and it'll be a punting situation for Sycamore.
Again, the Big Blue defense, they bent a little bit there, but they did not break. They gave up the big gainer there to Celestine to start the drive, but solidified themselves enough to stop them.
Fair is back to punt from his own 45. A spiraling kick out to the sideline and out of bounds inside the 30-yard line. They're going to mark it. Let's see.
Yeah.
This one is coming backwards out towards the 31-yard line. So not much on the punt. 23 yards, but no return. But it'll be 1st and 10 with 9:30 left to play here in this third quarter. And we'll see if Hamilton can make it a 2-score advantage.
I'd be remiss not to mention the fair catch there on the sideline by Coach Mahan. Not sure if you caught that or not. But that was, without question, a fair catch. And when he caught it, he was excited. He was excited. But he talks to the group here as they start this first drive of the second half, and you got to expect them to do one of 2 things here on this play. They're going to go back to the same old with Caleb Johnson. Is he back in the backfield?
He's back there with Sims Marshall, and the give to Johnson up to the 34-yard line. So it's good to see him back on his feet.
Yeah, without question. I say if you're the offensive coordinator and JD, you're extremely happy he's back on his feet. But again, you're going to get yourself in a situation on Sycamore's end that they're going to test the downfield approach here with Darian Bowling at some point. But
he ran for 35 yards. Beg your pardon. He ran for 35 yards. KJ did in the first half. He got 3 on the last play. It's 2nd and 7 with under 9 to play here in this third quarter.
Speaking of Darian, I don't see him back out there quite yet. So
Twins to the far side. We got a couple tight ends in the formation. Here's the sprint out and the throw out to Marshall, and it's incomplete out of the 45-yard line and nearly picked off on the reverb.
That's a situation where Quincy Sims Marshall's going to have to do a little bit of work this offseason, if you will, on plays in which he's moving. He does a good job when he's dropped back there in the pocket and he makes accurate throws. Perhaps there's some balls, at least what we've seen so far this year, where you kind of get him outside the pocket and he has to make an extended throw, and sometimes it's a little off the target. But nonetheless, a big third down here if you're an Aviator on defense.
Dylan Andre had good coverage on that last play, and now a tight formation for Hamilton on the near hash mark. Twins to the near side. And the give to the tailback into the middle of the line, and we got a flag at the end of the play here as well.
It usually looks like a holding area, so we will see what the line judge comes out with.
Well, this might be a situation that if you are, and it is the hold against the home team, I almost think you refuse
absolutely
and call it 4th down.
Yeah, you're going to decline this penalty and make them punt. I don't think that there's I don't think there's two ifs and buts about it.
It's against Luke Mattia.
Luke's had a tough night tonight when it comes to penalties. But that one really doesn't hurt you, nor does it cost your team anything. So,
but it'll still be 3 and out with 8:30 left to play in this third. 14-7 in favor of Hamilton. Looks like we'll see McConnell back at his own 37. We'll see if he gets an opportunity to return one here. Ball's at the 36-yard line as we await the punt. Justin McCullough double clutches, allows his team to get down the field, and the ball.
And it's off of him.
It's off
and he gets back
McCullough.
on it.
Now he gets on it, out at the 15, and cuts back to the 16.
Wow.
And unbelievably held on. I can't believe he didn't call for the fair catch, for one, and the fact that there was a muff off the end of it, and now there's a flag at the end of the play as well.
Wow. That was an incredible athletic play by McConnell there. I mean, you want to talk about catching. We talked about some baseball earlier. We're talking about we got the World Series going on. That's a short hop of all short hops right there. That is a big-time play by McConnell. You don't catch that ball, and that is a huge turnover. But we'll see what this penalty is about, because if you're the Big Blue, the last thing you want to do is give up a 15-yard penalty on a positive momentum play.
Well, we are seeing the officials confer just outside the 15-yard line in Sycamore territory. And that could have been disastrous for Sycamore, because McConnell, and you have to credit McConnell's great hands and a presence of mind to stay focused and locked on possessing the ball.
Looks like
We got dead ball, 10 on the returning, also dead ball, 82 in the kicking team,
it's like
Offsetting penalties.
first down.
Yeah. Offsetting penalties, without question. Looks like 2 personal fouls. I think they're going to try to get a hold of this game, make sure it doesn't get too chippy out there. And whenever you throw an offsetting penalty with personal fouls, that's oftentimes the goal.
So the exchange of possession means 50 yards. And it's 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line for Andrew Fair and his Sycamore Aviators. They motion McConnell out of the backfield and into a split end spot to the left. And now they motion him back, and they bring somebody else on the field. Looks like, it looks like a tight end to the left.
Now, yeah.
Down to 1, and now the give. It goes to McConnell, off left tackle. He is upended, and he goes through the air out to the 20-yard line.
Yeah, a little bit of confusion there for the Aviators, as they had guys coming off the bench there with about 8 seconds. 8 seconds on the play clock. And certainly wasn't what they had designed to do as they come out here and start this, pivotal drive. If you're an Aviator fan, yeah, you might tell yourself you're only down by 7, but if that turns into 14 in the fourth quarter, it's going to be tough to kind of surmount a comeback.
Anapple and McConnell split out to the near side. Here's the give to the tailback, Celestine. He bumps into the front line and still picks up a few.
I'm just glad we went 2 plays without a flag.
There have been moments tonight that we've thought about that, and then there have been moments throughout the season when we do see dirty laundry play after play, and it slows the tempo of a game to a point where neither team has momentum.
No, yeah. Big play, though, if you're a Big Blue fan right here, is it's 3rd and 4, and if you can get off the field, you're going to have good field position for your offense. We'll see if they don't decide to go to McConnell here out of the backfield.
Pair split out to the near side. Deep drop for Fair, looking right, throwing over the middle, and Napple's got it at 35 to the 40, spun around to the 45-yard line, a pickup of 22.
Great play there from the Aviators. Took advantage of the fact that they had one-on-one coverage on the outside, slant over the middle, and picked up a huge first down. And we'll see if they don't decide to hurry up here. They had some success with that a few weeks ago, hurry up-tempo offense. We'll see if they don't decide to do that here.
And that's where they're going. Trips to the far side, a dummy count, and now they'll get the call from the sideline. Celestine in the backfield with Andrew Fair. He'll operate out of the gun. Here's the give. Celestine up the middle and maybe a yard.
Good job right there by an interior lineman of the Big Blue of being able to get his big paws on him Looks like big number 44 there from the Big Blue. None other than, let's see here, who we got? It looks like not on the roster. Not on the roster. I was like, wait a minute, I got to find 44 here, like 42, 47. No 44, Jeff, so we'll see if they can't figure it out up here in the PA booth.
The mystery player. 2nd and 9 on a gain of 1 by Celestine. Fair on a long count, looking left, throws one out to the flat. McConnell gets past a man initially, but a great job of one-on-one play for Hamilton.
Making a defensive play for Big Blue was number 3, Kevon Burnett.
Yeah, big play by Kevon right there. Got a one hand on McConnell, and if you can bring down McConnell with just one hand, that's a special talent in of itself. So, again, I think that's the bread and butter for the Aviators, is to get those athletes out in space and throw the ball over the middle.
3rd and 7. The ball's at the 48-yard line. Sycamore needs the 45 of Hamilton to move the chains. Pair of wides to the near side. They line up Colin Farrell as a tight end to the right. Deep drop. Fair looking left and nearly picked off.
Wow. Yes, it was nearly picked off. Then all of a sudden you thought maybe perhaps it snuck through and he caught it, but nonetheless brings up a 4th down. And again, you're in an area of the field where you cannot go for it. Not that you would on 4th and 7 unless you're perhaps in no man's land on the other side of the 50 there, but a good stop by the Big Blue. Now you got to hope that your offense can take advantage of the fact that their defense is going to be on the field here for quite some time.
And a great job of defense by Khalil Soul,
That's right.
who jumped the route and nearly got a pick. Fair with the punt out to the near side, out to the 20. It'll roll out of bounds right around the 20-yard line.
Yeah, good punt.
We'll see where they officially spot it. Looks like the 21. And if that is indeed the case, that is a punt of 31 yards.
What'd you call this little place up here earlier?
The Roost?
The Roost? The Perch? Is that what you called it? The Perch?
It's had something to do with the bird.
Let's just hope it doesn't turn into an ice box, because we got 4:40 left to go on this third quarter, and they got us out here, and I don't have too much weight on my bones here, Jeff, to be handling too much more cold. Well, you might hear some shivering going on.
I did see you fill up at halftime, so I do imagine that'll keep you warm as we get the first play. And up the middle, it's a run play on first down for a first down. Caleb Johnson for 10.
Well, it looked like he had not gotten hurt at all off that run based off of how he looked. We'll see if they can't take advantage of that. And I think last time they came out, they threw a couple passes, and they started, kind of kicking themselves, wishing they would have ran the ball, and that's what they're going to do here on this drive.
Tight formation. Mattia is a tight end to the left. And we see Blake Hawkins in a wing right behind him. Pair of wides, actually single wides to each side. Sims Marshall, deep drop, looking. Home run down the far side. It is incomplete out at the 40-yard line. A one-on-one, a 50-50 ball for Marshall out there, and a great job of defense out there for Dylan Andre.
And that's a situation, again, where Quincy Sims got to give the guy a little bit of a chance to go catch that ball and a little bit of a way, because the defensive back from the Aviators had no clue where that football was whatsoever. So it's a situation where if the ball was underthrown a little bit, Jaden Marshall probably could have readjusted and either got pass interference or had a big play. But nonetheless, you set yourself up here on just 2nd and 10 after you pick up the first down.
4:10 left to play in this third quarter. Still 14-7 in favor of Hamilton. The give to Johnson into the secondary across the 35 to the 36-yard line.
Yeah, they're starting to control the line of scrimmage a little bit. It almost looks reminiscent of the Aviators' first drive, and the fact that that offensive line's getting 3 to 4 yards push before there's even really defensive tacklers in the area of the running back. So, we'll see. This is where Coach Mahan, he's a little bit of a wildcat when it comes to some of this stuff. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if he decides to run this football and it brings up a 4th and 1 opportunity and he goes for it.
So it's going to be 2 running backs here for Hamilton. No, actually it'll be a single, but we did see Keyshawn Stevens come into the ball game. Here's the rollout right. Sims Marshall throwing right. Complete right. Marshall has the first down. Across the 45 to the 50. Still on his feet to the 45. And a big gainer here on 3rd down.
Yeah, I think it's going to come back based off of a flag here. Looked like the early indication is an illegal formation. We'll see.
Well, if it's against Hamilton, which it appears to be, it'll negate a pickup of 20.
Same play, yeah, legal man downfield. That's a big penalty there for the Big Blue in a situation where you just can't let that happen.
Tonight's referee is Mark Allen.
Legal man downfield. 52 the offense. 5 yards. Still third down.
Jaden Evans, one of the seniors that were honored tonight here in Hamilton at Schwarm Stadium. So 3rd and 11 on the procedure call with 3:09 left to play here in this third quarter. 14-7 Hamilton with the lead.
They got one-on-one coverage on the outside again here if they want to take advantage of it to Kevon Burnett.
Deep drop, throw. It's Burnett out of the 41, spun around, and a good job. And it looks like it's close enough to move the chains, and a great job of defense by Annapolis to stop him.
Yeah, that's a good job of knowing where the chains are if you're Burnett. And again, I just start to question, you got a 3rd and 11 and you're playing one-on-one, man-to-man coverage on the outside with athletes, and that's just a recipe for a little bit of disaster sometimes. But give him credit. Apple's a good player. He's been out there. He's making some plays on the defensive backside. I think take nothing away from him. It's just tough to stop people one-on-one on the outside. There's only so many guys in the league that have done it over the years, and you know who they are, and that's why you know them, whether it's Sherman or – there for a while it was Ramsey and all those defensive backs in the league.
Hamilton quickly to the line, a pair of wides to the far side. And we got a timeout charge to Hamilton with 2:26 left to go here in this third. As we reset, it's 14-7 in favor of Hamilton. Caleb Johnson opened up the scoring in this ball game back in the first quarter on the first drive with 10:42 left to play in quarter number 1 with a 27-yard touchdown run. It was a KJ Sally 2-yard reception from Andrew Fair with 2:17 left in the first. Extra point was good, tied it up at 7. And then the difference maker so far in this ball game, Jaden Marshall, a 23-yard touchdown reception from Quincy Sims Marshall, the point after good with 6:19 left to go in the second period. And we've got our 14-7 score. So both teams really need this win. This is a must-win game. As Trace had mentioned, this has been something that if you don't win this game, you're in real trouble, and you're going to need some help getting to the playoffs because both teams are in the bottom rung of the 7-8 spots. So, and
need a little bit of help, too. I mean, one thing that we've failed to mention here is that there's this team called Walnut Hills who are hanging around. they're hanging around, and if they were to beat an Anderson team tonight, and so far they're up 14 in their ball game, if they were to win, that's just they got an outside shot of just knocking out one of these GMC teams. So we'll see.
1st and 10 at the 43-yard line. Sims Marshall, a deep drop, now rolls right, looking downfield. Home run down the near side. It is caught at the 20. No, and dropped. And now we've got a flag. It might be pass interference. So a great job looking for Marshall down the field. It's the home run threat. Justin Williams on defense, and he might have reached in just a little too early.
Yeah, kind of lost track of the ball there and ran Jane Marshall over, but I'll be honest. When he threw that ball and let it go, it looked as if there was plenty of aviators there to make a play, and it might have been intercepted, but, I guess he trusted his guy to go up and double-team coverage and make a play. It should be, automatic first down for the Big Blue, and we'll see if they don't go back to the ground. I think that they've shown that they had some success here running the football, and they're trying to loosen that box a little bit. If you're going to pack the box and you're going to leave one-on-one coverage to the outside, it leaves you no choice sometimes. But that being said, I'd be utterly shocked here if you don't see a run by Caleb Johnson and or Keyshawn Stevens.
Well, Stevens is in the backfield. Johnson came out of the ballgame. Blake Hawkins lines up in a wing behind the right side of the line. 1st and 10 at the 42-yard line of Sycamore. Sims Marshall gives. Keyshawn Stevens initially met in the backfield, and he will be pushed back for a loss of 2.
Yeah, good job by the Aviators there, surging up front and giving Stevens a little bit of an issue in the backfield as he made one man miss, but it doesn't matter how many guys you make miss when you got 4 or 5 Aviators there to make the tackle. So it looks like we got a guy down from the Aviator bunch here, and we'll see if he can't limp off the field, as it looks like he might try to do that.
Out at the 38-yard line. He's taken a knee. Trying to see a number. His number is obscured from our side. Looks like number 11, Jacob Andre. So Andre's gotten beaten up a little bit out there on the field, but he'll walk off.
I can promise you, although I guess cramps aren't directly infused to heat, but you don't have to worry about any heat exhaustion tonight. And
we're gonna laugh at this for those of you that, even if you're watching, for the benefit of what you got going on. It's right around 50 degrees tonight, which isn't that cold.
No, it's not cold at all. That's the problem.
But our broadcast location is out on a perch.
Down on the perch, as you call it.
At Hamilton High School.
Considered a wind tunnel.
Yes. And the wind has picked up here a little bit here in the late hours.
That's right. Speaking of tunnels, the Big Blue need to create one here for one of the running backs because I think that's just the nature of this game. We'll
Second
see.
and 11, and then a quick roll by Sims Marshall, flushed and sacked. Out at the 50-yard line. Nick Stevenson with the loss.
Good job, though, there by the Big Blue. Quincy Sims looked as if he was going to try to throw that ball just to try to make sure he didn't take the sack. But you got to understand where you're at. Time, score, and place. And that's a situation where taking a sack isn't the worst thing in the world.
3rd and 19 on the loss of 8 on the play. With 1:13 left to play in this third quarter. Scoreless here since intermission. The sack pushes Hamilton back beyond the 50-yard line, back into their own territory. Initially trips to the near side, and now they move trips to the right.
They got one-on-one this side if they want it.
And we've got a stoppage. It's a false start. I think Hamilton saw exactly what you saw, Trace, and got a little too excited.
It's a nice way of putting it.
Well, Jacob Harmon on the false start. So 3rd and 24. Or maybe, if you will, 3rd in the Chatterbox Sports offices.
Yeah, getting pretty close to it. Again, if you're the Big Blue, don't take anything too crazy here. Just get yourself in a position to punt.
Sims Marshall steps up. Now we'll have to run for it and is taken down at the 44-yard line. So they just kept marching backwards on that one, and the stop there, the loss on the tackle by Kai Williams.
Yeah, and that sack is probably going to lead us into the fourth quarter. Doesn't look like they're going to have to run a play until the game clock expires, as it looks like it's just a tick ahead of the game clock's just a tick ahead of the play clock. So I don't expect them to punt this ball at all, but we will see.
Well, the way the wind conditions are tonight, it's hard to say that there's an advantage one way or the other. And they will stop. McCullough will not punt, and we'll take a break right here. We are done with 3 quarters here in Hamilton. The Big Blue have a 14-7 lead over the Sycamore Aviators here in Week 9 of the high school football season. It's the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live.
College degree that's respected at a price you can afford? Miami University Regionals offers flexible options and small classes, guaranteeing you'll receive personal attention from some of the best in the business. Test drive your future career by doing an internship or co-op, or expand your world of perspective by studying abroad. With more than 50 student organizations on campus, there's something for everyone. When it's all said and done, you will have earned one of the most respected degrees in the business. Miami University Regionals. Visit our website for more.
At Jamestown, we believe environment makes a difference in helping you get well and stay well. Private suites and expert speech, physical, and occupational therapy are proven to speed your recovery. Jamestown, the latest addition to Community First Solutions, a not-for-profit network since 1918.
12 more minutes left to go here in regulation, here in Hamilton for Week 9. Big Blue have a 14-7 lead over Sycamore. Along with Trace Fowler, I'm Jeff Kim. Thanks for joining us. It's the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Justin McCullough at his own 30 to punt it away. And the punt will be short and taken at the 35-yard line. So only a punt of 22, as it was down by one of Hamilton's big guys up front. And with 11:53 left to go in this regulation, it is 14-7 in favor of the home team.
Yeah, it was a situation there. I don't know if you took notice, but the Aviators on all the punts tonight kind of played conservative and wanted to set up their return. That time, they brought some pressure and tried to catch the Big Blue off guard, but didn't quite work out as the punt was successful, if you will.
Andrew Fair waiting for it. Deep drop with time, looks deep middle, and now rolls to the right, throws to the right, complete to the right. McConnell out of the 40 and down to the 42-yard line. So a nice bit of improvisation for the Sycamore quarterback. And I believe it wasn't McConnell. Well, I guess it was. I thought it was for a minute Fisher, but McConnell gets credit for the catch, pickup of 7.
Yeah, I think you need to start putting this game in your quarterback's hands. He's proven this year that he's worth trusting.
McConnell again on the reception in the flat. He steps through and gets the first down out to the 46-yard line. Needed 3, got 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, it looks like Kevon Burnett is going to go down here for the Big Blue. And you got to hope if nothing serious. You got to hope it's nothing serious because you're starting to get thin there on the back line for the Big Blue.
And he's writhing in pain. Now, I don't know if that's, and far be it from me to accuse of young men of having acting jobs, right? But there are times where sometimes when you know that you need to stop momentum, you have a phantom call and you just take a knee down and.
You're not talking about the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, are you? I mean, you're not. That's not who you're talking about, are you? It can't stop a drive, so they just flake around. But that's certainly not what the Big Blue are doing here. I had mentioned earlier there's no way you could get cramps from heat exhaustion.
Correct.
I really do think that's the case here. I think that we have cramps. I don't think it's from heat. Cramps obviously don't come just from heat. I'm not. Hopefully, I'm not telling anybody a secret there. But perhaps could just be some exhaustion and
a lack of water.
A little lack of water, some nervous energy before a game where you don't eat, perhaps, or you don't drink. I've had that situation happen before, and I do think that's what happened there. But we'll see. We'll see if he's not able to get back in the game. And the fact he's got a water bottle out there almost indicates perhaps that's what it is.
Right, and he walked off under his own power. So, at the risk of sounding accusatory, which I'm not going to, if that's an acting job, he did a pretty good one out there.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it was. I'll tell you who is acting. They are not in North Bend, but they might be in South.
Ball's at the 47-yard line on the near hash mark. 1st and 10 for Sycamore. Pair of wides to the far side. Fair waiting. Hamilton showing blitz off the near corner. Deep drop, and they set up the screen for McConnell. Out to midfield, looking for the sideline, and steps out of bounds out of the 46-yard line.
Yeah, it was a good play right there by the Aviators, and Khalil Sold did a good job on the outside for the Big Blue defense to make sure that he did not get the edge and forced him out there on the sideline. But if you're the Aves, start moving quick. Use your playmakers on the outside.
Here's the quarterback keeping it up the middle. He has the first down up to the 35 and down to the 31-yard line. A pickup of 15.
Yeah, do not slow down if you're the Aviators right now. Just continue to keep this momentum, keep this tempo, and trust your quarterback to make the right read. You have a kid in McConnell who can go make plays out of the slot. Start to utilize these guys.
Trips to the short side. McConnell is in the slot. He gets the ball on the little screen. Nice spin out to the 31-yard line. He got back to the line of scrimmage on a very razzle-dazzle play.
That dude can play, man. I've been saying it all game. Get that kid out in the slot. Perhaps put him on a linebacker if you can and get him going over the middle. We've seen him do that against West where they threw, the 9 route, if you will, right up the seam and hit him for a couple touchdowns towards the end of that game. You have to start asking yourself, are they going to do that here? So far, he hasn't really gone the 9 route up the middle yet, but we'll see if that's not something that happens in the future.
Tight formation. They motion McConnell back to the formation, and the give to Celestine up the gut across the 25-yard line, and not much more than that, if at all, any.
It's going to set up a big-time 3rd down, and I said it once, I'll say it again tonight. This is without question 4-down territory, so there's absolutely every play call that you have on your play sheet from the Aviators' perspective is in play here.
They empty out the backfield. Trips to the far side and a pair to the near side. And the quarterback keeping, and they snuff it out. That's a tackle for loss.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that. I mean, you got playmakers in the slot in McConnell, and really they have not utilized that yet. And you're going to run a a one option. There's one option there for Fair, and that's to run the ball off that play call. Sets up a 4th down, though, and we'll see if they can't pick it up here.
Nathan Pratt on the tackle, a loss of 4. 4th and 7, and here we go. A big play with 9:11 left to play here in regulation. 14-7 in favor of Hamilton. A long count, and they get the call in from the sideline. Fair does. Celestine's in the backfield with the quarterback, and now they're going to have to call a timeout.
Yep.
And the crowd coming alive here at Swamp Stadium on senior night to be the 12th man on the field to force the timeout.
Yeah, a little bit of confusion there from the Aviators' perspective. Play clock got around to be 8 seconds. Fair was still looking to the sideline for a play, and it's a huge play. Best off to make sure you take a timeout, even though those are vitally important in the second half. Better to take a timeout now and get yourself in the right position and the right play call that you like versus rushing it there and not picking up the first down. But again, if you're both sides of the ball, it seems as if there's been some big plays tonight that have been negated or enhanced by a penalty. And you got to make sure if you're on both sides of the ball here that you steer clear of that.
Far be it for us to look ahead, but in looking ahead, Hamilton, after tonight, they go on the road and they'll face Lakota East. So one way or the other, the road to the playoffs doesn't get any easier for the Big Blue.
No.
And here we go. 4th and 7 out at the 28-yard line. Fair's got a tight formation. Celestine in the backfield. He motions McConnell back to the formation and now sits him out to the right. Deep drop with time. Now steps up. He throws, and it is complete out at the 19-yard line. A Napple. And they move the chains.
Big time. Big time first down right there by Fair. Kind of improvised, moved around in the pocket, stepped up, found his man over the middle. Little quirky kind of because he was already sitting on the ground when he caught the ball, but nonetheless picked up the first down, moved the chains, and the Aviators are still in this.
And Napple is a single wide out to the near side. Again, the tight formation for Sycamore. Fair looking, giving, McConnell off right tackle across the line of scrimmage, but not much more. They had one-on-one on the near side to the split end, but decided not to go to Napple and stick with the running play.
Yeah, I think at some point they will test that. And there's without question you got to test the outside if you're going to load the box. But nonetheless, sets up a situation, or a down at least, if you're the Big Blue, where if you can kind of negate a gain here, you're setting your defense up for a big-time stop on 3rd down.
2nd and 10. Fair's all by himself in the backfield. He motions McConnell back. He gives McConnell dancing to the right side. A flag on the play. He's got a couple of yards pending the outcome of this flag.
It was thrown in holding territory for sure, but if you're Mattia here, you just get yourself back in the huddle. Let the referees do what they're going to do. And we will find out what Mark Allen has in store for us here shortly.
Still waiting on the call. By the way, Luke Mattia, and it's a hold against the offense. He'll turn on his mic.
Now, if you're a Big Blue fan, you wish there was a Red Zone channel, because the Anderson Redskins, who you have to have win, just took a 31-28 lead over Walnut Hills after they were down by 14. So,
wow.
A lot of going on this Week 8 matchup.
Well, Week 9, Week 10, tends to be things
I should
like
say Week 9, right?
Right. It's like March Madness in college basketball, and you have the conference tournaments where teams that are perennials get upset, and that's what we're looking at here in Week 9 and 10 coming on up next week. 2nd and 20, deep drop. Fair looking downfield, steps up, now rolls to the right, looking, throwing, and is it picked off? No, it's incomplete. Nearly picked up off on the field.
No, incomplete.
The side judge over on the far side called it out.
Yeah, a lot of excitement there from the Aviator bunch. Huddled up there. 3rd and 20. Situation where the Big Blue decided to rush 3 the last time they were in this position and almost gave up a first down. I don't expect that here. I think that they actually bring some heat, and I agree with that if they decide to do so, because Fair's proven all night long, similar to some great quarterbacks, if you let him improvise long enough, he's going to make a play. So we'll see if they decide to bring a little pressure here on a big 3rd down.
McConnell in a slot to the left, trips to the near side, a single to the far. Fair, deep drop with time, looking McConnell on a screen, up the middle to the 25, and he tries to hurdle a man and has nowhere to go. A good job by Cameron Richardson to stop him.
Yeah, and this is going to be an interesting play call because I actually think if you got a kicker that you trust, you try to go and you try to make this field goal right here and give yourself a chance to win the ball game here towards the end if you're the Aviators.
They will try to kick. Ball's at the 24-yard line. This will be a 41-yard attempt for Jack Farron. Left footer out of the hold of Andrew Fair. Good snap. The place is down. The kick is away and no good. Wide to the right.
That's a tough break there for the Aviators. You drive down and you have a penalty that kind of negates it a little bit. And if you're the Big Blue, you have to start demanding your offense to do something for you if you're the defense. You know, hey, guys, we came into the locker room and we came out of the locker room, and I got news for you. It's 14-7. We've held the Aviators, who can score, with the best of them at 7 here in the second half. We got to put some points up because the last thing you want to have happen is let the Aviators hang around, and the next thing you know, we're going to overtime up here, and it will turn in from a wind tunnel. It'll be an ice box next.
By the way, that last drive that finished in the missed field goal, 13 plays, 5 minutes off the clock. It went 41 yards, but it took a lot of time off the clock.
Oh, yeah.
6:44 left to play here in this ball game. Marshall in a slot to the right. Here's the give to the running back, coming to the near side, and has a lane to the 30, out to the 35, and Caleb Johnson pushed out of bounds at the 38-yard line, a pickup of 18.
The Big Blue might have been fortunate right there that they didn't get a hold on the outside, didn't quite see it greatly. Perhaps he was getting blocked well, but it just looked like the defender had a tough time getting off his block around the edge and gave KJ room to run. And whenever you give that kid room to run, you're going to have a lot of fun if you're a Big Blue fan.
1st and 10 at the 39-yard line officially. Here's the give to the tailback, and this time he is stopped behind the line of scrimmage, and a great job by Apollo Ford rushing in from his linebacker spot.
Yeah, if you're the Aviators, now you have to load the box. You have to dare the Big Blue to throw the football, because the last thing the Big Blue want to do is stop this clock. And it takes a lot of courage to throw the ball when you're in a position and when you're up by 7 and there's only six minutes to go. We'll see if the Big Blue don't decide to take one more chance on the outside as the Aviators do indeed load the box again here.
Marshall and Burnett to the near side. Twins there. Here's the give up the right side to the tailback, breaking a tackle out to the 42. And I'm surprised we don't have a flag immediately on that last tackle. A little rough housing on the end of that as Caleb Johnson was taken down rough after a gain of maybe about 3.
And one of those situations, to be fair, for the Aviators is you don't know when the whistle actually came in. You're taught to play to the whistle, and it's the referee's job to blow the whistle. Might have been a situation where the whistle came a little late, and for that, the referees decided not to throw the flag. So nothing. I don't think there was anything malicious there from the Aviators' perspective. But, again, brings up a big 3rd down here for the Big Blue.
3rd and 7 at the 42-yard line on the near hash. Tight formation, and now we got a stoppage in play. Timeout charge to Hamilton. With 5:15 left to play now here in regulation, what do you draw up here? You know, you do have maybe perhaps because you are looking to run clock, maybe you do have one-on-one on the outside, and, of course, Jaden Marshall, who's been so huge in the passing game the last couple of games with a touchdown last week in Middletown and, of course, one here in the first half, which is the go-ahead touchdown.
2 play calls come to mind here. One is a play that's worked twice tonight. One time it obtained a first down. The other time it got brought back because of an illegal man downfield, and that is kind of a little naked bootleg out to the left, which would be the far side of the field, or the extended side of the field here as we look at it. And you try to get your running back out of the backfield, and your receivers know you're throwing the ball to the running back, so they're blocking intentionally downfield. The other side of the coin, in my opinion, is just take what the defense gives you. If they're going to load the box, go ahead and take a deep ball downfield. If they're not going to do that, and it looked as if last possession, maybe that's why Coach Mahan called a timeout, is they looked like they were playing perhaps a little safer. They had their safeties downfield. They were going to ensure that they weren't going to give anything over the top. If that's the case, I'd take my chance, and I run a little draw here and let one of my running backs perhaps pick it up.
Burnett to the far side. They motion Marshall. They give. Marshall coming left out to the 45-yard line, and no more than that. So a safe call here on third down, and it'll bring up fourth down as we come up on the 5-minute mark here in regulation.
Yeah, and you're in a situation where you have to punt because your defense has shown all game long that, they've been able to stop the Aviators, but, man, my goodness, you keep watching this game and you start to question how long can this defense keep the Aviators off the board in the second half, and you just hope from a Big Blues perspective that your offense could have just punched in one more time. Nonetheless, here we go.
Justin McCullough at his own 31, the ball spotted at the 45. And McConnell's back at his own 26-yard line. Good snap. The kick is away. It's a spiraling kick. McConnell will return out to the far side to the 30. And a burst of speed down the 40, down to the 50, and out of bounds.
He's dangerous. Very, very dangerous. But it looks like there is going to be a flag on the penalty. And usually when there's a flag on the kick, it's a block in the back. And we'll see what... tell you what, Mark Allen, I'm not sure if they give him more pay for making all these calls tonight or not.
Well, we are thankful for that he's armed with a microphone tonight. So it is against the return team, Sycamore. I'm waiting for the official call.
I think they called a block in the back, and as soon as you mentioned that he had a microphone, he decided he wasn't going to use it.
That figures, right?
There it is. Well, you got a long field to go here if you're the Aviators. And, again, you're in a situation where you haven't had a whole lot of success on the ground yet. But you have some success with McConnell in the slot. And I think that eventually, my goodness, I keep talking about it, and I'm sure our watchers at some point are just nauseated by me saying this, but you got to get that kid going over the middle.
Celestine is a wide out to the left. Here's the give. McConnell up the middle, across the 30, out to the 32. So a little sleight of hand, motion, putting the running back out as a wide receiver, and the wing back in the backfield with the quarterback. So 2nd and 7. We're under 4 to play here in regulation. 14-7 in favor of Hamilton. We are so happy to have you here joining us for Week 9 of the Game of the Week here on Chatterbox Live. Andrew Fair has McConnell in the backfield with them. Deep drop, looking left, now rolling to the left, throwing it out of bounds, and he's throwing it away under some duress by Hamilton.
Smart play there by Fair. It's a good job of just taking what the defense gives you there. Don't force anything downfield. And we got another flag, of course.
Well, it just wouldn't be our broadcast if we didn't have a bunch of dirty laundry.
Yeah, we'll see what they call here. Holding on the defense. Interesting.
Well, that might have been why initially when the quarterback Fair was open and had time to throw, that he had nobody to throw to. So they'll march this one off. And with 3:35. Luke Mattia. So with 3:35 left, we're now in a territory where you really can't think about field goals. It's got to be touchdowns. 14-7 in favor of Hamilton. They're showing blitz off the side. And the give, deep drop, play fake, and now a throw, and it's complete out at the 45-yard line and move the chains.
It was a good ball by Fair. One of the first times tonight he's been able to step up and make a strong throw, and he showed his arm strength right there. And again, if you're the Aviators, now let's not slow this train down, baby. Let's get it moving and keep it going, besides the fact that I guess you got to get another play call in. But, it's 3 minutes and 20 seconds left, and it's not even just the time at this point. I think you're having more success with keeping up the tempo.
Gordy and Napple had the reception for 10, 1st and 10. And now the give, it goes to it's the quarterback keeping it off the right end and maybe a yard on the play.
You're going to start throwing this thing around the yard if you're an Aviator fan. I'll tell you that right now. This kid has an arm. He's shown that he can make the throws. And then creeping up on time where, these running plays, you only got probably about 4 or 5 more running plays in you for the rest of the night before the clock runs out.
Fair came in as the leading passer in terms of yardage in the GMC. 2:40 left to play. Deep drop for Fair. Looking, throwing, completing. Out to the 35-yard line, and the receiver pushed back. Fisher. So Soul got him on a pickup of 9. So 3rd and 1, and a big play here with 2:20 left to go.
Yeah, without question, 2-down territory. Here's a situation where you got to start watching this clock.
Farrell's a tight end to the left. A pair of wides to the far side. Fair calling for it. Looking, throwing. Fisher again. He's got the first down at the 30-yard line. Soul on the stop there.
Pass is complete to number 24, Marquell Fisher. Soul makes a stop for Hamilton.
I got a wild question for you.
Shoot.
They get in the end zone here. You going for 2?
No.
All right.
Play for the tie. Easy enough one?
We'll see. We'll see what they do.
Fair with the deep drop once more. This time throwing right, completing to the right side. And Napple out of the 22-yard line.
Kid can throw the ball. And I'll tell you, they're having problems. It's hard to defend when you got 3 or 4 athletes on the outside that can run routes, and you got a kid in the backfield that can absolutely throw dimes. And they're starting to prove it here this drive. But is it too little, too late? As again, they're trying to get the play call in, and that clock continues to dwindle down.
2nd and 3 with 1:24 to play. Hamilton showing blitz up the middle. And the give on the slight delay and nowhere to go. A loss on the play for Celestine. 9th play coming up.
They have time. I'm not here to argue they don't have time, but at some point you got to start questioning, can you handle these running plays anymore?
1 minute to go. 3rd and 4 out at the 24-yard line. As the crowd comes alive, deep drop Fair.
Screen, he got a screen.
He's got Celestine for a first down to the 20, out to the 15-yard line. Move the chains, 1st and 10.
And they have had success with that screen all night long. The Big Blue defensive line has not been able to kind of recognize that before it was too late. Right down to the wire here. It's going to be an incredible finish.
43 seconds to go. They spot the ball just inside the 15-yard line. 1st and 10, Fair in the gun. Looking with time, looking left, now flushed from the pocket, throwing left, and it is intercepted at the 1-yard line. No, it's incomplete.
No, neither defender nor receiver came down in play, and I actually think they would have called that a catch because it almost seemed as if both receivers came down with it at the same time. Needless to say, everybody gets excited. 27 ticks of the clock left, and an incomplete pass.
Intended for McConnell, nearly picked off on the near sideline. It stops the clock with 27 seconds here in regulation. A touchdown and an extra point ties it up. A touchdown and a 2-point conversion wins or loses it, depending on the completion of that. Here's Fair, deep drop, with time, looking, deep middle, flushed from the pocket, throwing, it is incomplete. Intended for the tight end, Colin Farrell, and batted away at the last second.
Wow. Hey, we deserve this. We deserve this. We've been around here for about 3 weeks praying to God that we might end up with a finish like this, and this is about as much as we could ask for. Really throw out the clock. You can pick up a first down inside the 5, but that play clock, or I should say the game clock, is going to come a factor here at some point with 18 seconds left.
Let's see if they isolate McConnell. He's in the slot to the right. 18 seconds left to go here in this contest. Celestine in the backfield with Fair. A long count. Here we go. Deep drop with time. Steps up, throws a rocket, and it's incomplete. Just over the hands of Annaple.
Here we go. 4th down. I will not say they only got 1 play left based on the fact that if they do hit somebody over the middle or perhaps towards the edge, they can pick up a first down. The clock would stop on a first down, and the Aviators do have 2 timeouts left. Looks like they're going to take one of them here, though, and make sure they get this play exactly what they want on this 4th down and 10.
Timeout charges Sycamore with 12 seconds left to play here in this one. 4th and 10 at the 14. They do need the 5-yard line to convert the first down and move the chains. And they need the end zone and at least an extra point to tie it up and maybe perhaps send it into overtime or go for 2 if they get a touchdown.
Yeah,
which is
I don't know. I know you think that's wild, and I'm not saying it's not. But the way this game has gone, in my opinion, for the Aviators, you know, I don't know. It's a thought that I would have for sure.
Well, I will tell you this. The last time we saw a game come down to the wire, Sycamore was involved in it in Week 4 against Lakota West.
That they were. And we'll see if they go to the bread and butter like it was against West, and that is McConnell. You got to make sure you know where McConnell's at on all times. And it wouldn't surprise me a bit as well if they go back to what sounds crazy, a little bit of one of those screen action plays as well. They've had success with that all night long. You have the defensive linemen that are super excited. They want to make a play. They're busting to get in the backfield, and you drop it right over their head. Nonetheless, here we go.
Trips to the near side with 12 seconds left to play. This is it. Fair has Celestine in the backfield with them. Long count, he has it. Deep drop with time. He steps up. He throws. It is incomplete out of the far sideline. And Hamilton will take over on downs with 5 seconds left to go.
Great job by the secondary right there. Nobody was open. Fair gave themselves a little bit of extra time, scrambled around, and the Big Blue are going to come in and give themselves an excellent opportunity to make the playoffs by winning tonight as long as these snaps go well.
Amazing. So it'll be 1st and 10 at the 14. Unbelievably, Sycamore had 4 cracks from the 14-yard line, and these passes were just off, just a hair. Just a hair.
Yeah.
If you're Nate Mahan,
now I don't mean to do this.
Go ahead.
But what I tell you on that first drive, you have to circle the fact that you had dropped touchdowns.
Yes.
At the beginning of this ball game if you're the Aviators, and that was the difference.
So the victory formation for Quincy Sims-Marshall, he takes the knee.
Well,
and that's the winner.
Sycamore's got 1 timeout left, but it looks as if they're not going to take it.
That's a winner for Hamilton. They improved to 5-4. They've won their 2nd in a row, and a defensive struggle unexpectedly here tonight. A fine finish, 14-7 over Sycamore. The Aviators fall to 4-5 on the season. An amazing stop on 4 downs in the Hamilton red zone, and the defense lived up to expectations.
Absolutely. Bend, but don't break. Once you get inside the 20s, can you stop the other team from getting in the end zone? The Big Blue did that 2 times tonight. Unfortunately, they did turn it over and allow Sycamore to go in right after the first time they didn't break. But that's a situation where Coach Mahan's going to circle that and say, listen, you can bend a little bit between the midfields and let them get some yards, but once they get inside that 20, we cannot let them get in the end zone. They didn't allow them tonight, and they come home with a big win for the Big Blue on senior night.
The Big Blue sending the Schwarm Stadium crowd home happy tonight with a 14-7 defensive struggle win, and with no scoring in the second half. And the last touchdown of the ball game going to a primary linebacker. We need a timeout. We need a break. We'll come back with to wrap things up here in Hamilton. Again, 14-7 the winner for Hamilton on senior night. This is the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live.
Ankle sprains are the most common injury for athletes in all sports. Before returning to athletics, it's vital that an athlete be able to run, jump, and cut without pain. Range of motion, balance, and strengthening exercises are necessary before return to play, as well as preventing a sprain from becoming a chronic issue. Be sure to seek appropriate medical attention for an ankle sprain. Sometimes they're not as straightforward as they appear and may need a physician evaluation.
14-7 as we put a wrapper on this one here at Schwarm Stadium along with Trace Fowler and now Justin Thomas. I'm Jeff Kim. It's the game of the week here on Chatterbox Live. Justin, you served as our halftime man tonight. What do you think of the second half?
Second half was wonderful, Jeff. I mean, this was what you expected to have happen. A very big defensive struggle. I mean, the 14-7 was the scoreline we had at halftime here, and both teams came out and just denied the other one the ability to score. And Hamilton, really, 2 shots there at the end. You had the missed field goal by Sycamore when they held them to that opportunity, and then the last really the last kind of goal line stand. I know that was from the 14-yard line, but that red zone stand by Hamilton, 4 straight pass attempts from Sycamore, and the Big Blue are able to stop each and every single one of them, and that's a big win for this home crowd.
Want to get back to the first half when we saw all the scoring, and again, all of the scoring. In the first quarter, it was Caleb Johnson from 27 yards out with 10:42 left to go in the first quarter, capping off a 4-play drive that went just about 60 yards, took a minute 14 off the clock. Extra point was good, 7-0 Big Blue. Then it was a KJ Sally 2-yard touchdown reception from Andrew Fair with 2:17 left to go in the first quarter. That capped off a 5-play drive that went 14 yards off a turnover. Extra point good. We were tied up at 7 apiece. And then to wrap up the scoring in this ball game, Jaden Marshall on the completion on the back end of a 10-play drive that went 63 yards. It took 3 minutes and 24 seconds off the clock. He got a touchdown reception on a great pass in the back of the end zone from Quincy Sims Marshall. Extra point was good. That proved to be the difference maker tonight, 14-7, and that was the final on shutout football in the second half by both teams.
Yeah, both teams did very well to really amp their game up, and it just turned out to be Hamilton. That long pass play in the back of the corner of the end zone, like you mentioned, Jeff. One heck of a play. I mean, he just aired it out to him, and he pulled it down, and he ran, almost all the way out to, Liberty Township with the way he was running on that one. I had to get my directions correct on that. But, yeah, he just hauled it in, and that was the difference. Both teams really dug in the trenches and just made the defensive efforts on both sides. So for Hamilton, this is a big win because you looked at that playoff standings, obviously, unofficial, but almost pretty much official. You had Sycamore was at 7, Hamilton was 8. So this is an opportunity now where Hamilton's going to get those points with a win. They're going to probably move over Sycamore. I don't know exactly what the gap was between the two, but with how many teams are all kind of chasing there at the end with Walnut Hills, which we saw was in a close match with Anderson, Mason getting a win, and Lakota East kind of struggling against Corin, but with an opportunity against Hamilton. You knew this was a big one for the Big Blue to try and get done, and they did just that for today.
Sycamore came in with 10 points, just over 10 points, 10.075. Hamilton, with the same record at 4-4, came in with a record of 8.8375. So that'll close the gap.
Yep.
And it'll look like it'll be a 7 spot for Hamilton, barring any other yik-yak around Region 4 tonight. And of course, that can happen, though. We did see some, normal expected things. We found out that in the first half that Jaton McLean, I think on the first play from scrimmage for Fairfield, ran off a 92-yard touchdown run tonight. So there is some of the usual expected here in the GMC, but at the same time tonight, I don't think anybody expected shutout football in the second half, the last 24 minutes.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be back and forth on the offensive effort, but just the way it started off, touchdown this way, touchdown that way, touchdown this way, but the defensive effort is definitely going to open up some eyes, I think, for teams around the area to look at this and realize, okay, these teams can play some good defense. Is this the team that we want to face in a potential playoff match? Obviously there's still a little work to do. Got week 10 here and some big doozy games coming up. But for Hamilton, this is a big win today, proving that they can take it against a team in Sycamore that has, I think you and Trace mentioned, they found ways to win in some of these games all season long. And Hamilton, this time around, gets the big game-ending defensive stand.
Justin, in lieu of Trace right now, who's taking care of business down on the field, obviously talking to Coach Mahan and whoever our star of the game is, we'll ask you for your star of the game. Who was your favorite tonight?
I think, can I give it to everyone on the defense? Because that is the situation you dream of. Being there, you got short time on the clock, and you got to make a defensive stand there and just keep your opponent out of the end zone, and that's just a great feeling for not 1, not 2, not 3, but all 4 downs, getting the deflections. And if Sycamore is going to make a catch down there, it was going to be one heck of a catch because the defenders just did their job. They're just out there doing it, getting involved, breaking up those passes. They did awesome down the end. And you also got to give credit to the big men up front, pressuring Sycamore's quarterback and to try and make some of those tight throws. So I guess I'm going to cheat here a little bit, Jeff, and I'm going to give it to the defensive effort just there at the end.
Well, and they did only give up 7 points tonight.
Well,
so,
true,
Justin,
yeah.
I think we're going to call that fair tonight as far as,
appreciate it.
As far as with their effort for 48 minutes and a heart-fart run tonight, especially when they didn't know what kind of offense they were going to have after Caleb Johnson and Darian Bowling both left the ball game in the first half. Speaking of next week, it'll be week number 10 and a doozy. Whew. It may be the only game you need to care about as the Coleraine Cardinals visit the Fairfield Indians for the GMC Championship. Now, if Fairfield wins, they'll win the conference outright with an undefeated regular season and the 1 seed in the Region 4 playoffs. Should the Cardinals win it, they'll show their conference title with Fairfield and create all sorts of chaos in Region 4. Nonetheless, we can't wait. We'll have the game at Fairfield's Alumni Stadium on Chatterbox Live a week from tonight. Again, your final here in this one, a defensive struggle, but 1-1 by the Big Blue of Hamilton. They improved to 5-4, 14-7 winners over the Sycamore Aviators. They fall to a record of 4-5. For Justin Thomas, for Trace Fowler, and for our entire Chatterbox Sports crew, I'm Jeff Kim. We bid you so long from Hamilton.